All right, guys, welcome back. Welcome back to Boots and Shoots Unfiltered. Today we have an awesome guest. Awesome guest. Somebody I've known for a while. I've served with. Been through some shitty times with. For all you Bravo Company guys out there, we've owned the night a couple of times. Owned the night OTN. So, we've been together for a while through a couple of combat deployments, and as we're thinking about people to bring on here, he just fits it. One, his combat experience, his leadership experience, and he's just a good dude, because that's all that matters to us, is being a good person, right? So, welcome, Haven, man. I'm going to turn it over to Chris. Chris, you got any opening comments?
Hey, no, just want to welcome everybody back. I really appreciate you, and I really appreciate everybody taking their time and liking and subscribing. So please continue to like and subscribe. Haven, this is going to be a great story, man. Let's do it. Rock and roll.
Cool.
All right, buddy.
I'm excited to be here.
Hey, man, just who are you? Let's hear it for the audience out there.
Well, Haven Crecelius, retired 23 years, retired as a first sergeant. Though my end of my career was pretty crazy, because I was a first sergeant filling a brigade ops sergeant major position. So that was exciting. Just a small town guy. Came from a very small farm town, Southwest Iowa. And I grew up with a family, a military. So that was my calling. And I joined the National Guard when I was 17. And then I got my very first taste of deployment pre 9/11, Operation Desert Spring, which was kind of cool. Sitting in Kuwait, did a lot of Patriot missile security, and then I needed more. I wanted more. I wanted to do more. So my unit helped me, and I switched over to active duty. Process was happening, and then 9/11 happened, and that just kind of expedited everything. Didn't get to go to combat right away. They stuck me down in Fort Benning, Georgia, grieving process, and I was in the 229, where I was teaching brand new, infantrymen. Did that for about 3 years. Worked a little bit everywhere. Regular infantry stuff all the way out to worked out sniper school for a little bit, so that was kind of cool.
Yeah, you've been always all-purpose, bro.
Yeah, it's
all purpose, bro.
I don't know why that is, but I don't know. Maybe it's the way I was brought up. But yeah, it just kind of I kept getting borrowed down there. Ended up in Korea. It just because I was on our color team for the 229 and the 29th Brigade down at Benning, and my platoon sergeant made a phone call when he found out I had orders to Korea. I ended up in the United Nations Command Honor Guard, doing something similar. I mean, it wasn't the silent drill team, Jerry, but it was close. Did a lot of missions, a lot of repatriotism missions. When they're finding bodies from the Korean War still, because they're still finding those. We hold ceremonies for them, and we send them back home in the right manner. I probably did over 200 of those missions, and was a squad leader over there, because when we weren't doing our color missions, we were training. We were a combat company. It was kind of cool because we were the honor guard, but that was our cover story, because we were actually the combatant commander's personal security detail. All the key facilities, his house, we actually guarded them, and if something happened, we moved the man. But then I re-upped, and that really started my career in my mind. And I got my first stint at Fort Bragg.
There you go, baby. Chris, just slide it over a little bit. Just get it out of the way. Just slide it over. Just slide it over. Slide it over. There you go. Slide it over. Get it
Please
out of the way.
continue.
If I was at home, I'd have my 82nd behind me. But and it was crazy. It was a crazy time. Jerry, you guys were still deployed. OIF2.
Yep.
So there was I want to say 3 of us, and there was 2 NCOs plus me coming in, and we were running rear D. It was.
Can you tell them what battalion you were in?
Oh, 2nd Battalion, 2325, White Falcons all day.
There you go.
All day long. The best battalion. Isn't it called the only battalion?
Jack Love says Jack Love will tell you to this day it was the best battalion in the Army.
It was. I mean,
No
the
offense,
greats
Chris,
came. All
yeah.
the greats came from there. I mean, but yeah, that was a crazy time because the boys came back. We had to integrate with them as they're trying to reintegrate. We're resetting, and God, it was only a couple months later after returning, and we found ourselves getting blown out. And which I don't know, Jerry, do you remember flying in on that one into
Where? Which one?
Telefar or into Fob Sykes?
Oh,
Because that was a crazy Fob Sykes OF3.
Yeah, Chris has been to Telefar.
Yeah, because I don't know how you guys went in ACO, but I know that was a hot mess for us because I just remember we loaded up a green ramp. We flew to Germany. They did a hot load, and then we flew straight to Kuwait. And then it was get off of the whitetail and getting on a gray tail, gearing up, and then flying straight to Sykes. I mean, and I remember when we got off. God, it wasn't Sergeant Major Cook. I can't remember who 3rd ACR's CSM was, but I remember us running off the aircraft and him pointing, saying, "Ground your gear here. The defect's there. Go get the last hot meal you're gonna get." And we're like, "What the hell did we just walk into?"
Yeah.
But yeah,
that was probably the dustiest place on the planet.
Oh, it was just moon dust everywhere.
Yeah, it was fucking dusty.
That was. I mean, it got into everything. I mean, you were just caked in it 24/7.
Yeah.
Now, Telefar was a good opening for my career. First real combat deployment, and I was a young E5 who stepped right into a squad leader position. And about, I want to say, half of my squad had combat experience, and now they're listening to a squad leader who's not a staff sergeant, who has zero combat experience. But the boys meshed well. I mean, we ran our missions. We did great. We got into a lot of shit.
What was your thought? What was the difference between where you were before and then coming into that unit, and then like NCO wise, leadership wise, overall culture? Like, what was the difference?
It was way different because, coming from the United Nations Command, I mean, like, we had PFC team leaders. Privates were held to a really high standard already because we're working for a 4-star. Mm-hmm. But the camaraderie wasn't what it was when we got to the 82nd. Like, when I got there, I mean, we're asking guys to go lay down their lives. Like, yeah, that could happen with a CG, but these boys, I mean, they wanted it. They wanted to train. They wanted the worst conditions because the worst condition at Fort Bragg had nothing to deal with. You couldn't touch the worst day in Iraq. Like, they wanted to train in the worst because it made them better when they got downrange. And those guys, I mean, it was a brotherhood. I mean, they didn't want to let each other down.
What company were you in? What company were you in? I just want to make sure the audience knows. Like,
I was in Charlie Company 2325 at that point.
Yeah. Who was the first sergeant?
Terry Allen.
Terry, okay.
Yeah. And we'd just gotten a brand new CO. And why is it drawn? I'm drawing a blank on who that was.
Was Terry Allen a former 173rd guy?
I want to say he did some time there. I'm not sure, though. I couldn't say 100%. I want to say he did some time. I want to say he spent most of his career in the airborne community.
Okay.
But Telefar was great. I mean, my boys, they stuck it out. You could see some of them at Green Ramp. I mean, Jerry, you know what it was like down there. I mean, just sitting in there waiting. And waiting. And you could see the guys who'd never been overseas, and it was in their eyes. Like, they were freaked out. And I'm like, well, I've already been over there once. I got an idea. Yeah, didn't have bullets flying at me, but I had an idea. And I just kind of tried to reassure them, hey, we're all coming back. I'm like, we're all coming back together. We just take care of each other. We'll be fine. And yeah, I mean, those first couple months were a little iffy. I mean, I know Alpha Company, you guys were down at the castle.
Yeah.
But we had that school on the north side of Telefar there, a big L-shaped school. And it was a target. Mm-hmm. I mean, But we did our job. I mean, we did well. We had a couple close calls. I mean, I had a grenade go off not too far from me and took my hearing for a while. But I mean, we did our mission. We came back, and I think that drove everything after that. I mean, I want to say OIF2, OIF3 really hit home because all the new guys who came in, they heard the stories.
Haven, did you just want to go back to this, man.
Yeah,
did you train with these guys when you went over, or did you just get over there and then come in, or
no? We did.
You were familiar with everybody, right? When you
went over? we had a couple months. I think everybody got a quick leave when you guys got back, and then we had a couple months. We did a reset ORS. We hit a few ranges before we went back on the one and got called up again. So we had some time. I know right before we left, they were doing that whole, we're going to shuffle some NCOs around them to kind of even it out in the battalion again, because OF2 the unit did take a hit. We lost some NCOs there. So there was the shuffle, but I had time to train. And I had some great NCOs in our company. I mean, come on, Santos, Cavazos was in the company, and that man is a legend.
We gotta get Santos on, man.
I mean, that guy's got stories.
Yeah, I mean, when you want to continue getting shot in the freaking temple and get by a sniper and then continuing to serve like he was as a badass, we got to get him on. So, yeah, man, I think you always got, as an NCO too, man. What's some of those things that you give advice for a young team leader that's getting ready to take his young guys to combat, right? Like, I know we had Eric Phillips on here. He was talking about how he prepped guys, and some of the things when he was pretty hard ass, on them. So, like, what would you say to that young team leader that's getting ready, or squad leader, NCO that's getting ready to take his guys to combat?
Yeah, because you're an E5, it's stepping into an E6 position.
Yeah,
that's not easy.
What I did is I wanted to get the experience, pushed out. So when we were training when we weren't training, we had downtime. I would talk to the guys who had been over there, and I didn't care what rank they were. The guys that were in the squad or in the platoon. I'm like, what classes do we need to know? What do we need to train on? All these guys who haven't been there, what do we need to push out to get prepared? And that's what we did. And I had enough of them in the squad, but our platoon was tight knit, and they did a great job of, giving us classes and prepping us. And that was something I know, Jerry, you heard it plenty of times over, especially, when I took over 2 Bravo. I always told my guys I expect perfection, but nobody's perfect. But today we're going to set a bar, and we're going to get to that bar. We're going to train till we hit that bar. And then tomorrow when we come in, the bar's reset, and we got to keep training, and we got to get better. And one of the big things I always wanted to push on was medical. I mean, you got one medic in a platoon. You may have a bunch of CLS guys, but the guys need to be able to take care of each other, because if somebody's down and they can't actually cover somebody's 6 or help out, whether it's, handing out ammo or, still pulling a trigger. I mean, like, we all have to be able to take care of each other. So that was one of my big pushes, is we have to have a lot of medical training on top of that.
Self-aid, buddy aid. Yeah,
of course. But my big thing was we all have to, I expect perfection. We have to set a bar, and every day we're going to hit that bar, and we're just going to keep going. And I don't know, I felt like it worked.
Yeah.
2 Bravo did an amazing job on all the time and all the different tours we did with them. And I mean, those guys, they were rock stars. So.
Yeah. Telefar's Telefar. I mean, it was a lot of like handing out shit and patrolling, stuff like that. But I think it'd be good for you, man. Like, it was a good run for, like, to get you from, even though you guys are a little bit more kinetic on your side than we were because we were overshadowed by the fucking castle. Like, the army, the Iraqi army was up there, but
in our area, I mean, it was quite a bit kinetic. We had IEDs being in place all the time. So, I mean, we were sending out NAI we were setting up every night watching intersections. We were getting into it quite a bit more than what the castle was. But it was a good first tour to, kind of set me up for success, because I mean, that next one, I mean, I know Jerry, you guys were downrange, under the black patch. When we rolled out for the surge, which you can watch the surge documents and they don't talk about the 82nd, but we were the spearhead for the surge. And when we got into, especially the White Falcons, when we got into our AO, that was our mission, was just to get there. And then we stayed. And they were like, yeah, no coalition forces have been there in 2.5 years. Sectarian violence was, I mean, bodies were stacking, almost triple digits daily in that area. And
where were you guys at? Was that where Cobb Callahan was?
Yeah, Shab northeast corner of Baghdad there.
Is that like who's like the
so we had the disruption zone? What's that?
Who were the main was that the Al Sadr guys, or I don't know.
Yeah, so we had the northeast corner of Baghdad, the disruption zone, and then basically the southern side of Sadr City. So basically where Route Gold, which kind of cut the Sadr City in half, everything on the north side, we were not allowed to go in. They basically, like, what we referred to it was the Bakara market, everything on the north side. Like, you weren't going to walk in there. I mean, you get close to Route Gold and you were taking shots right off the get-go. But we ran everything south of that, and then basically all of Shab. So yeah, Mookie was running his little Golden Brigade around there. And then, yeah, we had just different little cliques of jihadists that were all over. I mean,
now Haven, real quick, sorry to go back with OIF 3. How long were y'all there for?
Oh, I want to say it was 9 months.
Something like that.
So, I mean, it wasn't that long. I know 3rd ACR did not want us to leave, which was the whole reason why we got sent there. 3rd ACR moved into the city and they got cut off. IEDs were just destroying them. And then when we got blown out, we weren't boots on the ground, 24 hours, and we were already walking into the city. I remember getting everybody gave us cards. We all went out, got our ammo, loaded up. We watched them prep the city. Fast movers came in, howitzers were going off, and then they were like, hey, load up on these 100 boxes. His standing room only. If you're on the outside, you're facing out. Everybody else, just be ready to have to push out.
Chris, you ever seen those, Chris? They're like the up armored LMTVs. You ever seen them? It's like, we drove around in those fuckers in Mosul too, man. And it was like, you're just a fucking target. Like, they're up.
That's all you were.
But I tell you, for Talifar, I did the, 03 invasion. I did Mosul. I did all the things up to this point. But that was the first time I ever really worked with tanks as an infantryman. Right? Like, from sitting there from ACR, the ACR guys. Like, I never, worked with, doing the clearing and having a tank with me to, it's comfort, right? Yeah. And then, like, if I couldn't get into a building, I use a Bradley to tear down a wall, or use the M1 to do what I can. But that was the first time I ever used anything like that as a paratrooper.
And I'm not gonna lie, like, I got excited. So the very first mission that I ran with the Bradleys, and they told us, hey, you got Grim Troop. They're across the street. There's 4 Bradleys over there. They only have enough bodies to man 2 of them. I'm like sitting there going, well, why do you have 4 Bradleys if we can only run 2 of them? So very first mission, they were like, hey, Grim Troop's coming over. They're going to link up with you guys, tell them what you want, and then you guys are going to SP. I'm like, cool. And I'm standing there with my platoon sergeant and my PL, and all of a sudden I just hear Sergeant C, and I turn around, and it was one of my team leaders from Korea who was a scout, a Cav scout. He's walking through the door, and I'm like, Meeks, I'm like, what the hell are you doing here? He goes, I guess I'm one of your your TCs today. He goes, I've got Grim 3. And I'm like, how bad is it? He goes, well, I've had 3 lieutenants since I've been here. And he goes, and I just keep losing bodies.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, we're here to help. So I need your knowledge. And I'll tell you, we had a great working relationship with our guys over there. And I mean, I got into a tick right off the Wadi on the north side, Jerry. I don't know if you remember where it kind of hit that little crossroad.
Yep.
I was in a house over watching the IA do a mission, and they got into it, and they fled. And as the insurgents were pushing forward, we were pinned down in this house. I had nowhere to go, could not get out. And my FO said, hey, there's two Bradleys up on the ridgeline. Air can see them, but air can't engage right now. I was like, well, tell me who they are. What's painted on the side, and we'll drop to their net. And it sure as shit, it was Grim 3, and I got dropped to their net. And I was like, 3, this is Charlie 2-2. I was like, Meeks, I need help. I'm pinned down. I was like, I'm throwing VS-17 off the roof. I was like, I need you to get me out of here. He came hauling ass through that city with his 2 Bradleys, and they walked us out of that shit show. And they were just dumping Bushmaster rounds downrange, and it was amazing.
I think the mounted guys, man, and now Chris can tell you, man, he's got. I mean, this dude's got a lot of combat experience, right? From the Korengal to the in Mosul with the strikers that we worked with in Mosul that I thought that unit was amazing. It was a fucking awesome unit. I hopefully, one day me and Chris can get a couple of those guys on here because those stories of what those guys did. Because I go back to that because we had a tick and we had a huge firefight happen in the circle up there in Mosul, and we had to jump in some Bradleys too. But they were fucking decimated too. They had no fucking man-eating, like they had no dismounts and shit. So it's like it was just a trend for those guys because they were just every time they go out the wire they get fucking hit, right? So,
Oh yeah,
it's nuts.
We did a mission with them one night in Talifar. We went way out to hit a house that they knew. They knew it was an IED factory. Basically, there was a house there that was basically a big cache, and they wanted us to hit it. So we sent a couple trucks out, and then the Bradleys went out, a couple Abrams, and the rest of us walked out. We didn't expect to find what we found. I mean, drums of AKs, gravel, or there was a big rock pile. We moved it, and there was like over 180 pieces of ordnance. EOD, we had to move it further out so EOD could blow it in place. And they were like, hey, we got to get off the X because the sun's coming up. But like, we're clicks away. Like we don't know how we're going to get out of here because everybody knows we're out there now. And they just said, we're going to jam as many people as we can in these Bradleys in the backs. And there's Cav Scouts. So, I mean, they don't have a lot of dismounts. But what they did do is they sandbagged the crap out of the inside of those things. I mean, there was like 2 to 3 layers of sandbags. Yeah. So now we're jamming as many people as we can. I just remember, we were RTBing and the ramp dropped. I was riding the ramp as it went up, and we're just jammed in there. I fell asleep, and then all of a sudden the ramp dropped, and I went rolling out. Route California. It was a California, the one that major one that went in front of
major in the center. Yeah.
Yeah. I rolled out into the center, and I had no idea what was going on, where I was. And then all of a sudden I hear somebody going, hey, Sergeant C22 over here. And I looked, and there was one of our gun pits sitting like right there. And there's one of the gunners going, in here, let's go. And I'm like, oh shit, it's our cop. I had no idea where we were at. So, but
I know how you slept in that shit.
Oh, we were so jammed packed. I was so tired. Like I was passed out.
Yeah. Fucking sleep anywhere, man.
Exactly.
Yeah. Hey, so you did the Talifar one, right?
Yeah.
What was next?
Next
was that
Surge.
Haiti or was that?
It was Surge.
Was the Surge? Okay, the Surge.
Yeah. So how long in between OIF 3 and Surge deployment for you guys?
So we came back end of what was that, 2005? I think we got back right before the new year. It was in between Christmas and the new year, which basically it was a quick, hey, take a couple weeks, come back. We basically did our reintegration, and then we took leave, and then we got back into it. And we were on the one I want to say it was around October, November timeframe. And then it was around December. I want to say that was about the time you guys pushed out, Jerry. I went on that other mission. And then we were on the one, and they're like, hey, there's something big coming. And we already had an idea. Hey, it's going to happen again. We're leaving. And it was just, I want to say I got the call a couple of days before, I want to say it was before the new year. And we went in for a couple of meetings, and then it was right after the new year that we rolled out.
So we're talking early 2007.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yep. Yeah. It was January 07 when we actually ended up downrange, but then we sat, we got into the spot in Kuwait, and we sat and we just trained because we had no idea what we're doing. And then all of a sudden they just started giving us gun trucks, a bunch of light infantrymen, and they're like, here's a bunch of gun trucks. You're going to need these. And we're like, no, we're going to walk everywhere. And they're like, no, you're not. You got to start training on these things. And we had no idea. And then we found out why. It's because we were going to GAC all the way up to where we had to go. And we were going to spearhead the actual surge on Baghdad. So they wanted us out front. So, unfortunately, I missed the GAC. My wife had a medical issue, and so they sent me home for a short bit. And I watched them taking Cobb Callahan on Fox News as I was sitting. I just got my wife out of the hospital, and I'm watching the news, and I'm like, that's my squad.
Hey, I know those guys.
Literally sitting there, I'm like, holy shit, that's Corey Stewart. That's my alpha team leader right there. And yeah, it was crazy. And then I told her, I was like, hey, you can't watch the news after I leave. If they're going to be showing this stuff on TV now, I was like, it was a couple of days later, I was on an aircraft going back over, hit Kuwait, got all my gear. I think I was there maybe 12 hours, and I was on the first aircraft heading north.
You know what, man? I thought it was fitting you guys with the Cobb Callahan. They named it Callahan. You know, to me, for everybody that's out there, like Keith Callahan was my platoon sergeant.
Oh yeah.
So he was killed in 2007, right before you guys went over there. Like it was, I'll explain that day someday later on the thing, but. For them to name it after Cobb Callahan after Keith was like pretty. So
we were already in country when Keith died. And I remember Keith. Keith was my final grace on my EIB.
Yeah.
Which it was crazy because I was my final station, and I just found literally right before I walked up. I had gotten a message from my wife because she was pregnant, or she was sick, and she didn't know why. She went to the doctor, and I found out she was pregnant right before I'm walking up. And he looked at me. He's like, Crecelius, are you all right? I'm like, I just found out my wife's pregnant again. And he goes, oh, well, congratulations. He goes, are you ready? I'm like, I don't even know what I'm doing right now. He goes, you'll be fine. And I walked in there, and it was, oh God, what station was that? Don't matter. But I just remember doing the station, walking out, and he goes, I'd already wrote down that you were a go, but you did good. Good, brother.
Great guy. Fiery little Irishman.
Fuck yeah. I love Keith. And like I said, we were there, and I can't remember what we were calling the cop at the time, but when we found out that Keith was down, like you could just feel it inside the cop. And there was a lot of people who didn't know him, but like the rest of us who did know him, we were all talking about it. And we're like, we couldn't believe it. I mean, this is Callahan. I mean, the guy's a beast. And
he's a legend.
And then, somebody, I don't know who it was, but they're like, hey, we should name this cop Callahan in his honor. And it was fitting after that. Like, any visitors that came, if they mistreated our cop, like we let them know, like, oh, you're not doing that, not here. Yeah. So
even explain about what that building was.
So that was a 4-story mall that was abandoned and it was destroyed. The basement was filled with water. There was dead bodies in there. There was trash. There was rats like the size of small poodles running around. We had to clean it out. There's no walls in it. It was just open. You could see from one side to the other. So initially we had 550 cord strung up with our ponchos to create walls, just to kind of make divides of, hey, this is where this company is versus this company. But it was a 4-story mall. It was a Target in one of the worst areas. And again, I watched them take that building from home, and there was a fight going in, but that fight never stopped. Every day we got
you guys had a huge sniper threat to include what was that rocket
the Katusha rockets and then the IRAMs.
Yeah, the IRAMs that hit you guys at one time was flipping strikers.
Yeah, so that was a rough day. So that was my birthday, November 18th, 2007. And the only reason, not that it was my birthday, I wouldn't have remembered it. It'd have been another day, but November 12th of 07, I lost one of my team leaders. Sergeant Joseph Vanek.
Yep.
He was sniped standing right next to me.
Right.
And that one hit hard because we didn't hear the shot, but I heard the smack of the round hit behind me, and he jumped and yelled, "Shot." My wife just brought me a Mountain Dew.
Nice.
But he jumped and yelled "shot," and he went one way and I went the other way and realized I can't go that way. So I turned around and followed him around this corner. And it was one of those little cuts in between buildings where they dumped garbage. And when I turned the corner, he was face down. And I turned around. I thought I just fell because he turned right in front of me. So I turned around and I started pulling security. We'd already yelled, I put it out over the net, hey, there's a sniper. So everybody's yelling. They're trying to look. They're scanning. And I just felt Vanek's foot hit my foot. And I reached down. I hit him. I'm like, Joe, get up. And he didn't move. So I rolled him over. And I saw blood kind of shoot out of his shoulder here. And I realized he'd been hit. So I drug him back behind the garbage pile, went over the net. And I let him know. I was like, hey, Vanek's down. I was like, I need the medic, who was on the rooftop at the time. So I opened up his IBA and I saw where the exit wound was. So the entrance was here, but the exit came out down on the opposite side below his rib cage. So I just plugged holes.
Yeah.
He was there, but he wasn't there. He was gasping for air. So I'm just trying to talk to him, plugging holes till our medic showed up. And I told him what I had, and it said, we got to get him out of here. And he was like, he's got to get on an aircraft now.
Yeah.
We were maybe 4 blocks from the cop. So I put it out over the net as like, I'm taking one truck and I'm going back. Like, we got to get him out of here. PL said, you're taking 2 trucks. So we loaded him up in my truck, and I took lead, and we had another truck following us, and I started calling it in. Same with, calling my 9-line. We got back to the cop, and they were Johnny on the spot. They threw up the gate. It had trucks come out well early, so that we could just pull right in, went straight to the flight line. Bird wasn't on the ground yet, so they took him in to the cache and started working on him. And then we put him on the aircraft and he was gone. And I just remember I helped carry him to the aircraft. And I remember sitting there watching the bird leave and kind of sat there for a moment before I can't remember who our medical NCOIC was, but he's yelling at me. He's like, dude, you got to get off the freaking the helo pad. It's like, because there's just snipers everywhere. And he's like, you got to get out of here. And I just remember walking back in. It's like, he didn't make it, did he? And they're like, we don't know yet. And yeah, it was maybe an hour later that they told us that he was gone. And that was one that really hit hard. And I want to say it was because he was my guy, but it was right there. And so then you fast forward 6 days, they grounded us. We can't go nowhere. So all we're doing is pulling security and trying to get our heads straight. And then, I wake up on my birthday at like 6 something in the morning to the whole building shaking and all this booms going off. And they're like, yeah, we're under attack. And I remember rolling over and going, fuck it, let it happen. Like, I'm just so pissed. And
I think we all got to that point, that sometimes you're like, fuck, we're in a bunker.
Then it clicked in my head. I'm like, shit, I've got 2 guys sitting in a guard post on the rooftop. So here I am in my Ranger panties and a cut up t-shirt. I just throw my boots on, throw my gear on and my helmet, grab my rifle, and I take off running to the roof, and everybody's coming down. And I'm like looking at everybody and I'm like, I don't see my guys. And I get to the roof and I just hear a 240 rocking, and it's our gun pit. And I go in there and I'm like, what the hell are you guys doing? And I want to say it was Gallagher and Butzler. And Gallagher's on the gun just rocking it. He goes, I've got them. He goes, I watched them pull up. I know where the drivers are. And he's just shooting at them. And I'm like, Butzler, what are you guys doing? There's rockets coming in. And he's like, we haven't been relieved yet. We're not going anywhere. And I was just like, wow. That just kind of sunk in. I was like, my guys will not come off their spot because they weren't relieved. They're not running from this.
Paratroopers, man. Paratroopers. Yeah.
So,
we talked about that in Eric's episode because he got in the same situation where his paratroopers were in their own little islands and they just fought, dude. So that's just a culture.
Yeah. And then it was funny because I stayed up there for a while. And then when people started coming back up and things kind of started to settle out, I then remember it's like, shit, we have trucks ready to go sitting at the wall. We should probably go check on them. So I start going downstairs and then I get yelled at because I'm not in a proper uniform. I was just like, are you kidding me? That's what we're worried about right now.
We won't get into that part. He was leaving.
But yeah, I mean, it was an eye opener. And that was, I think we were the first ones to hit by IRAMs, and those things were just,
they were flipping trucks and shit.
Yeah. It split one of those Fox vehicles in half. The gun turret itself landed like 100 feet away on the flight line or on the helo pad. Gun trucks were flipping over. Those Texas or the Alaskan walls just rumbled, like just pieces. Do
you remember who the striker unit you guys had was
I want to say it was 2-2, but it wasn't. I don't think that's the number. They were from Washington.
Oh, okay.
It was probably 3-2.
3-2. Because I actually had a buddy who he was a squad leader in that element, and I ended up running into him years down the road at a training where we're sitting there together, and he's like, I think I remember you. Weren't you in Baghdad with those in that really big mall? And I'm like, yeah, I was. So yeah.
So,
but it was IRAMs and Katyushas. That was their go-to with us. Because we were just a big target. I mean, we had Katyusha.
You were still in Charlie Company at this point, right?
I was in Charlie. I had literally just left 2nd Platoon, and right after that, I went to a weapons platoon, and then I kind of teetered back and forth. Our platoon sergeant had gotten into a little bit of trouble, and he ended up going away. So me and Pickett, I don't know if you remember.
Yep.
Or not Pickett. Yep. No, it was Daggett. Pickett was gone at that time. Daggett. We were kind of bouncing back and forth between running the platoon at that point, and then he went to 3rd Platoon, and I ended up taking over the platoon for the rest of the tour. So,
yeah, that was a pretty kinetic fight. Yeah. The whole time you guys were there.
Yeah, that one. I mean, when people ask me about that time, because I mean, we went over there, and Jerry, you know how it is. And Chris, I'm sure you guys have seen it too. But like, you go over on a certain set of orders, and they say 60 to 90 days. Yeah. And then that's what you're expecting. Hey, 3 months, we're going home. Or it's going to be maybe a half a year, we're going home. But when we kept getting extended over and over again, it got to a point where we're like, hey, just tell us when to pack our shit. Like, don't even tell us that we're staying longer. and this is when it's going to be, because we got extended 5 times and ended up staying for 15 months and 3 days.
Yeah. You guys lost your brigade commander too, right? Didn't he get hit? Was he?
Yeah. So he got hit on. He got sniped, and he got medevaced out. He got shot. Yeah. He got the Forrest Gump wound.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was a good commander. It was crazy. Is right before we went over is when he took over, and he had left being the G2 for 18th Airborne Corps.
Yeah.
Which was crazy because my uncle was the G2 Sergeant Major. So yeah. I already kind of had an idea of who he was and what he was about. And he was a great commander coming in. It was crazy when we heard that he got hit, but it was Mazaraki who picked him up and carried him off the X that day too.
Yeah,
I think he was up on staff at the time.
Yeah. Oh, Maz.
Yeah.
So you guys completed the Surge mission. Where'd you go next? What was your next?
So
you were still in Charlie.
Yep. We went back. And that one was crazy. We get back, we do our little reset. We take our leave. We come back. I had to go to Jumpmaster refresher. So I had just pinned E7. I was promotable, and I'd left Charlie Company, 2nd Platoon, went to Charlie Company, 1st Platoon. First Sergeant Nelson was our first sergeant, and he said, "Hey, you got to go down Jumpmaster refresher and get it done." So I went down, did my time, got refreshed, came back, and I walked in, and Bay was in my office. And I was like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "What are you talking about?" And I'm like, "Why are you in my office?" And he goes, "This isn't your office. This is my office." I'm like, "You have only been gone for a couple of days." He goes, "You might want to go talk to First Sergeant." So I walked out and walked in First Sergeant's office. Like, "First Sergeant, what's going on?" He goes, "Go next door, talk to First Sergeant Johnson." And I'm like, "Bico?" He goes, "Yep." So I walked over there, and CQ stands up as I walk in the door, and just knew E7, and evidently had already made a name for myself. I walked into his office, I shut the door, and I looked at him. I'm like, "KJ, what the fuck is going on?" And he's like, "Have a seat."
Yeah.
He goes, and then that's when he told me, "Hey, you're taking 2 Bravo," which at the time was not a very good platoon. Lots of UCMJ going on there. But he's like, "Hey, Sergeant Major said, I got to fix this platoon." And he goes, "I wanted you." He goes, "You'll fix it." So he goes, "Sergeant Major said I get what I want." And he said, "I wanted you. So here you are." He goes, "You have to fix this platoon." And he goes, "What do you need to do that?" And I was like, "Well, I need Staff Sergeant Santos." And Santos was, when he came to the 82nd, it was literally like a week after me. So this guy had been with me since almost day one. We were both in Charlie Company together. We worked together in different platoons initially, but then I took over his platoon after Cavazos left. I took that platoon. I had the pleasure of having it for a few months. Santos was just a pit bull. And
I remember Santos.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, I knew he would be the right guy to help me fix this platoon. So I was like, I need him. First Sergeant got on the phone. He called Sergeant Major, said, Crecelius says he needs Santos. 20 minutes later, there's a knock at the door, and there's Santos standing there. And he's like, "First Sergeant, you wanted to see me?" He goes, "Come on in." And he looked at me. He goes, "What's going on?" It's like, "Chase, have a seat." And I was like, "Welcome to BCO." And he goes, "What?" I was like, "We are taking over 2 Bravo." And he goes, "Oh, hell, we are." He goes, "No." He goes, "That's a terrible platoon." I was like, "We're going to fix it."
Yeah.
And he goes, "Really?" And I was like, "Yep." First Sergeant said, "However we want to do it, we're fixing it." And and he goes,
I think that's cool too, man, because I think you've always been a humble dude, man. Like I think you do very good at getting the buy-in for people to work with for you, or work with you, whatever you want to say it politically or whatever. I think you do a very good job at that, right? So like to go in there and tell First Sergeant, "Hey man, I need some ice," some sort, first, I'm sorry, I'm stumbling. Some platoons are like, "I don't need anybody. I got this myself," like least
Oh,
you
no.
said, hey man,
Yeah.
we can get this done if you bring this other guy in here. We do this as a team kind of thing to build this platoon, whatever. But just being humble about that is pretty awesome. You're right. So
I mean, you got to be. I mean, even the strongest NCO's got somebody who's backing him up, and even if it is all 4 squad leaders, if it's all your team leaders, well, if they're backing you up, but the rest of the platoon's not backing you up, like we got to start somewhere. And I knew Santos was going to be that guy to help me, and he did. You know, we may have got.
Who was your platoon leader?
At that time, God, I didn't have him that long. I can't remember his name. I mean, he was green. He was brand new.
Yeah.
But he was good. And, you know, I sat down with him and he goes, we should probably do an initial counseling. I was like, well, here you go, sir. Here's my ERB. I was like, what questions do you have? I was like, this is your platoon. I was like, beans and bullets is mine. I was like, I will back you up unless you're making a really terrible call. And I was like, then I'm going to fight you on it. I was like, but at the end of the day, it's your word. I was like, so if you say that it's going to be this, that's what we're going to do. I was like, but when it comes to bite us in the ass, it's like, you have to be able to bite the bullet. And he was great about it. Yeah. But then he kind of rose and they pulled him out of there. And he went over to, I want to say he went over to mortars after that and ran that for a bit. And he made rank pretty quick and he was gone. My next PL though, him and I were peas in a pod. He grew up with a dad coming out of special ops. So he was very smart. He was a West Virginia guy, Citadel guy. But he was like, he came in, he goes, what do you want from me? And I'm like, what do you have to offer? And he goes, well, I'm good at this, this, and this. And I was like, cool, I've got this side then. And we worked well together. That was my PL in Haiti, Jerry. I don't know if you've ever seen him, but
we try to stress like the importance of the young platoon leader, you know, platoon sergeants. Because I could tell you, I'm gonna get into Chris's ego here a little bit, but Chris is a damn good officer, right? He was a damn good battalion commander, right? Because he listened to his NCOs, and I don't know how much he listened to me, but he listened to his NCOs.
Listen to him a lot. But
to me, it's like, you know, we've seen him in the 82nd. We saw those platoon sergeants just give shit about their platoon leaders, right? You know, for all those NCOs out there listening, man, that like when you become an E7, become a platoon sergeant, whatever that is, you know, section sergeant or whatever MOS you are, like you got to take advantage of like mentorship and partnership, and it's both your platoons, not like the NCO. It's NCO business versus officer business, because that shit doesn't matter. Because in the end, be honest with you, the commander's going to look at the platoon leader and be like, well, you all fucked up. You know, this is how it is. But it's good to see that you've always been supportive of your officers, man. Even if some of them are not good versus bad. I think you made the attempt to fix or to do the best you can to mentor. So I think that's important for everybody out there.
But that's hard from both sides, right? So going back to when you first came in, and you're a brand new, you're a senior E5, buck sergeant at this point, and they throw you straight in the squad leader, and you're coming into the 82nd. That, you know, I'll toot 173rd's horn all day, every day, but it's the fucking 82nd, right? It's different, it's bigger, it's badder, and so the same for every leader that comes into an organization like that, whether it's the 82nd, the 173rd, Ranger Regiment, whatever it is, you've got a finite period of time to be able to get in, make a good impression, and then hopefully start trying to make a positive difference. You being an excellent NCO, being able to kind of adapt your leadership style to your PLs, new one coming in, that speaks volumes for you. Whoever that young officer was that you had, if you remember his name, I'd love to hear it. But his ability to be able to come in and say, hey, look, what do you want? What do you need? And to be humble like that. Not all leaders are like that, right? Especially when they're junior. Remember you guys, both of you, and then remember your brand new squad leaders that you got, and or that you grew, and that cocky, arrogant attitude that E6s have. And for me, having been in the Army for 29 and a half years now, that E6 rank is very similar to that lieutenant rank. You're cocky, you're arrogant, you fucking think you know everything until you don't.
Yeah, it's true.
And it's hard to swallow that pride. To hear that he did your PL at that point, and y'all were able to address 2 Bravo like that, that's phenomenal.
Yeah, because I think too, real quick. I think when I was at West Point, I think when you did it, Haven, I think you made it simple. You made that a first initial link up pretty simple and easy. Because when I was at West Point, those cadets, they're so worried about when they walk in that office for the first time, they're stressed. I'm talking about stressing about that, right? Like, how do I go in there? Like, how do I not fuck this up? Like, kind of thing, right? So that's pretty awesome, man. Go ahead. Sorry if I cut you off.
No, you're good. I mean, I had one bad one, ROTC, and we tried everything with him, and it just didn't work out. But you remember Brandon Quintana?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when I got him as my new PL in 2 Bravo, it was literally I got him the day before we went down to JRTC.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to learn each other on the flight down.
Yeah.
And we talked. And I'm not going to say that was the best rotation because we did. I mean, we got thrown to the fire. We had the flight down to talk. And then it was we're right out in the box, and we had to figure each other out quick. And it wasn't, I mean, that was not the best rotation. We fought quite a bit. He definitely pulled I'm the lieutenant, I'm in charge. I'm like, cool, you're in charge. We'll see how this goes. I'm telling you from experience. And this isn't my first time down here to the box. Like G-men they're going to give it to us. And what you think is going to happen isn't going to happen because they are going to throw everything they can at us. So that rotation wasn't good, but it was such a learning experience because when we got back, him and I spent probably the next week sitting down and just hashing out stuff. And after that, it was amazing. We had a great working relationship. If I wasn't there, he would literally be like, hey, Weasel, you're in charge. Platoon Daddy's gone. This is what I expect from you because this is what the Platoon Daddy does. And this is what, Sergeant C's been doing. And he was great. When he was gone, if he knew he was going to be gone, he'd be like, hey, this is what we have going on. I've kind of prepped it for you. I need you to fill my shoes while I'm gone. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was great. And then, of course, he had to promote up and he went over to scouts and I lost him. And that was halfway through, about halfway through O&D.
Yeah.
I
remember Brandon.
Yeah.
I still see him. I see him once in a while. He was up 10th Mountain Division for a little bit too.
That's good stuff.
But yeah, so you got to the platoon, and what was the next challenge or stuff?
I'm not gonna lie, like I was literally told, hey, we have 13 pending UCMJ actions. You've got to get this stuff squared away.
Gosh.
And I was sitting there going, are you kidding me? So that was the first thing. I'm not going to lie. We definitely, we went out, we had a formation and basically said, okay, U13 fall out. And then it kind of went through and gave a little brief and told people if they didn't want to work for me, that was it. But this is how it's going to be. And you can either be a part of it or find somewhere else to go. And the platoon got very small, very quick. But it turned around so dang quick. And we trained every moment. Like I gave team leaders like a list. Hey, these are different tasks I would like the entire platoon to get trained on. At first it was, well, why can't the squad leaders do it? That's their job. I'm like, no, because the squad leaders are going to be with me in the PL and we're going to be doing other things. So while we're gone doing this, which was all the UCMJ stuff, and then prepping on how we were going to restructure the platoon, the team leaders initially didn't really kick off, but then they started taking ownership. And especially when we started to fill back up and we really started to build that platoon, and we were training our butts off. Every ruck march wasn't a standard ruck march. I wasn't just walking the roads. If we could find a trail, we were mapping out, me and the PL were mapping out trails, or I tell a squad leader, find me a trail. It's not just a ruck march. It's not Thursday ruck march days. We're going to get something more out of this. So we're going to train while we're doing it. So we were out on trails. We were walking the fire breaks and the tactical columns. Like we were putting more out. I got, what was that little pond down there below the brigade AO? I got the MPs called on us because I made them stop and do a water crossing on the way back in one day. And the MP said, "You can't swim here." I said, "We're not, we're training." They're like, "Well, that's not in your, was that in your plan? Did you guys get, clearance to do this?" I'm like, "It's part of our AO. I didn't think I needed it." Yeah. But I mean, everything we did, it always had a reason behind it. We weren't sitting on our butts. I think at one point in time, at one point in time, we had more Jumpmasters in our company in BCO than the entire battalion. I mean, we were pushing Jumpmaster training like crazy.
Yeah.
So
we won Jumpmaster of the year when I was there as first sergeant. So
we did.
Like that's a good point too, man. And like leadership wise, and like I always talk about leadership, but like, to be creative as a platoon sergeant, right? And for you understood how important it was to train, right? Like some platoon sergeants get stuck in the ruck of like, we're going to do the road march. We're going to do this. We got to do it, right? Like, but turning that time to like do something different that's going to benefit the platoon and train them and, kind of like change their mentality of things is pretty awesome. So like any of the platoon sergeants out there is listening, take advantage of your time, right? Like, plan with your PL, right?
Yeah, no, too many people get wrapped up in, well, I have to have training area. I have to have this. We got to go talk to range control and we got to lock this in. No, like Jerry and I, what was that area behind the battalion headquarters, where we would go ruck march sometimes. People would run back there. You'd go back down the hill in there. It was back where one of the HLZ was. There's HLZ. There was a container village back there, some other shit that like you didn't need range control, or you didn't have to talk to the training NCO at fucking battalion or brigade. You just fucking went back there and used it, right? And the good leaders, the really good leaders, they seek those opportunities and they take them the minute they're available. It's not like, oh, we can't do anything because we don't have range 1 alpha or whatever. No, fucking go make it happen, man.
Yeah, I think the turning point when we saw the platoon coming together, this was when Colonel Leneve had come in, and he started all of these basically platoon challenges. We had them like every couple months. Who's the top platoon? And so the first one that we did, we got done with it, and we scored pretty high in it. But my squad leaders were like, the guys have rumblings because they see everybody has these. They have their own platoon banners that they've created and everything. And like, we don't have anything. We don't really have a name. And I was like, okay, well, ask the boys, what do they want us to be called? And out of it was really crazy is we became the Swamp Devils. Yeah. And the training, all the training events that we'd done up to that, every field problem, for some reason, we kept getting stuck in the low grounds. It was always wet, and the guys were always complaining about it and wanting to move. And I'm like, nope, this is where we were told to be. This is where we're going to be at. And I was like, the good thing is what you guys need to understand is we're all in the suck together. Yeah. I was like, so if we can handle this suck, we can handle any suck that's thrown at us, but we do it together as a team. And so they came up with this name. We were the Swamp Devils. And they held so much, they put money together. They went and had our own guidon made They had one of the guys draw up a picture of a swamp devil, and they had a guidon made. So we were probably the only platoon in the 82nd that had its own guidon, and that guidon went everywhere. It went to every training, every field problem. We actually had one guy who jumped it in on every jump. It went everywhere. And
Joe, that's freaking awesome, man.
Yeah.
How long was that prior to going to Haiti?
Man, that was.
Did I miss something before that? Was there something?
No, it was right. I want to say it was right before Haiti. Is when we got the guidon, but we created the name well before that.
Oh, okay.
But then, yeah, Haiti. I mean, when we moved from the hospital back down to the battalion area, and we had to build those platforms for the tents, and then we had the monsoon happen. They really loved having that guidon out there because it was a swamp. I mean, we had to build a bridge just to get to our dang tent because there was about 2 foot of standing water. Mm-hmm. And it was, they loved it. Hell, even former President Clinton came down and he wanted to, why is there a swamp devil flag hanging there? And these guys are living in a swamp. Well, that's our name. And this is where they told us to be. And it just so happened to be a swamp. So
yeah. That's crazy, man. It was such a good battalion. I don't think anybody it was constant, man. Like sometimes I get confused on what goes before what, right?
Oh yeah.
I swear, man, it was gone, back. Yep. It was all, well, I mean, it was how that was.
Hell, Haiti even, I mean, I remember the night we got blown out for Haiti, I had stayed late. We were already on the one. We knew we were going to RC East. And I remember staying late for a intel brief on RC East. And I got home. I dropped my go bag at the door, took my blouse off. I walked upstairs. My mother-in-law was already at the house with us in preparation for me to leave. And I was like, hey, she's a bit of she has to watch the news on everything that's going on. So, of course, the news is going, and I was like, are they talking about Afghanistan? She said, no, they're talking about this earthquake that happened in Haiti. I was like, I don't give two shits about an earthquake.
Yeah.
What's going on in Afghanistan? Because it's any moment now that we're going to go.
That was our next rotation, yeah.
Yeah, and I remember walking into the kitchen, and my wife, like Jesse's like, hey, your dinner's in the microwave. So I started the timer on it and I turned around and she goes, so anything new? And I'm like, nope, still waiting around. And my phone blows up and I look and it's my PL. And I was just like, I answered it. He kind of gave me the, 18 plus this. And I'm like, it was like 21 plus this. And I was like, okay. I was like, I'll call 3 or you got 1 and 2. And he goes, all right. He goes, I know you'll be the first one in. I'll see you at the company. And I literally just turned around, looked at my wife, said, got to go. And I went and kissed the kids all. They were all sleeping, but I kissed them all good night, or goodbye. Grabbed my shit and I hauled ass back to the company. I remember walking in and first sergeant looking at me and saying, I was the UMO for the company. And he's like, crack the containers. And I'm like, what? No. I'm like, why would I crack the containers? He's like, every heavy weapon's got to come out. I'm like, whoa, hold on. We're going to Afghanistan and you want me to take every heavy weapon out? He goes, get them out. And I'm like, first sergeant, are you thinking clearly? I'm like, we need these guns. And he's like, we're not going to Afghanistan. And I'm like, where the hell are we going? He goes, there was an earthquake in Haiti. I'm like, yeah, I know. We're going to Afghanistan. He said, no, we're not. I was like, bro, what the hell?
I was the same way, man, because we were out in the field doing fucking stick lanes. It was December. It was fucking cold.
Yeah.
And they stopped training, and I was like, what the fuck is happening? Like, what are we doing? Like, what's going on? They're like, hey, man, we're going to go to Haiti. I was like, what the fuck is going on in Haiti? Nobody knew what was. I was like, what the fuck is a war broken out in Haiti? Like, and I'm like, they're like, we gotta. I'm like, dude, I got the packing list. I got everything in there. All cold weather shit. Like, like you got to go back and repack. They were like leaving in a couple of days. I'm like, what are we fucking doing? Is this a practical joke? Like, what's in Haiti?
And it was crazy because I remember when we went down and stood on the scales, it was sleeting on us.
Yeah.
So everybody's just, I mean, we're all sniveled up.
Yeah.
And we went back into green ramp. We sat there. The birds showed up. We all loaded up on the birds. We flew for, I don't know, like 16. It felt like forever, but it was only like 14, 16 hours. And then we're just like flying in circles around the island. And you could just see the chaos on the flight line. And as soon as we landed and they opened that dang door, and I'm standing there talking to the first sergeant, and I'm like, what are we going to be doing here? And he goes, I don't know yet. But when that door opened up, I just felt that heat. And I looked at the stewardesses. I said, y'all are going to want to go that way and just turn and face the cockpit. And I turned around and I just yelled. I was like, if you have snivel on, take it off.
Yeah.
I was like, because the last thing we need right now is somebody going down. And that was what was about to happen. It was so damn hot. Was not prepared for that.
I think we all went through, like, I think even the battalion was going through some kind of what the fuck is happening. Like,
oh yeah,
you know, we went in there, we had mags loaded, like all kind of shit. Like we were trying to battle in between humanitarian mission versus kinetic stuff, and we didn't know what the fuck was going on. Nope. So it was just nobody had a fucking clue like what we were doing. No one had experience in terrain. Iraq, Afghanistan vets didn't know what the fuck we're doing. This is some different kind of shit.
Yeah.
And like you didn't. I mean, you weren't wearing body armor and shit. You had LBVs or whatever. But yeah, I mean, you're right. It was nuts.
That's got to be a hard mental shift, right? So can you kind of walk me through that? Because again, one of the things that might get lost real quick. One of the things that might get lost is I know I personally forget about this sometimes. Is the short notice string that you guys in the 82nd rotate through on a constant basis, right? Because the 173rd, we don't really have something like that. We kind of do, but not really. It's not the same as the GRF and all that the 82nd has. So living kind of like you were explaining, right? Your wife is like, have you heard anything? Have you heard anything? And you're like, well, I know we're leaving. We're supposed to be going soon. Well, do you see this about Haiti? Yeah, fuck Haiti. We're not going to Haiti. We're supposed to be leaving soon. They're going to tell me, right? I personally have not lived as a commander in an environment like that. Now, Jerry and I lived in the opposite, kind of like you were talking about, when we don't know when we're going home, but not like that constant state of readiness where we could be blown out at any moment's notice. What is going through? How's your family dealing with that on a normal basis?
I mean, coming from the 82nd, like, I mean, because we were already used to it. I mean, she knew when we were on the one. And my kids just understood that when mom and dad were talking about the one, that meant that I could leave at any time, but I would come back eventually. But she was used to it, and we always had it planned out. So, you know, we get it. Things, you know, the power of attorneys would be already done. Her mom would be around just to help out with the kids. But we'd get everything ducks in a row. So when it did come, we just went. And then it made it easier for me because then I didn't have to worry about home. Now, my wife had medical conditions that, you know, could flare up, which Jerry and I dealt with at one point on a tour. But I basically, once I got on that aircraft, it was my boys were my family, and that's what I had to worry about. And I didn't worry about home until I got something that said I needed to. And this one was way different though, because like I said, when we got there, you know, I told everybody to you know, strip. We all got our stuff off, and I get my boys off the bird, and I mean, the whole flight line's it's just chaos. And First Sergeant turned and he looked at me. He goes, "Hey, we already have a mission." And I said, "Okay, cool. What are we doing?" He goes, "There's a hole on the north side of the island, on the north side of the actual airport. There's a hole in the wall. Haitians are coming in, running down to the flight line and stealing stuff. All this HA that's coming in, all these materials, they're stealing it. Take your platoon and go secure the wall." Roger. what's my ROE?
Yeah.
You're not shooting anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here's all this ammo.
But I was like, what are we supposed to do? And he goes, don't let him through the wall. I'm like, okay. So we grab our rucks and we humped it. It was about a click and a half up in grass that was, it was up to my neck. This was tall grass, but we find this hole. So I brought the squad leaders in. I was like, hey, this is what I want. And we're going to do just like, textbook. We're going to set in a little L-shaped ambush. And I want guns at the apex. I was like, we're going to go 33% right now. Nobody comes through the hole. Nobody's shooting, but hopefully a gun sticking at that hole deter somebody. It's like if somebody comes through, we're just going to take them down. We're going to push them right back out. I was like, that's what we're going to do for the time being. And that's what we did. And we sat up there for a few hours. And then I got a call over the radio saying, hey, come back. And that's when we get down and they're like, hey, you guys are getting on these LMTVs and second platoon's leaving. And I'm like, what do you mean I'm leaving? And he goes, you're going to go out and you're going to secure a foothold at the only working hospital there. There's another platoon from Red Falcons there. Go link up with them. Well, who's there? Who am I finding? I don't know. It's the only 82nd there. Cool. So
guys that look like you. What are your questions?
Yeah, and it was crazy. We got on the LMTVs and we couldn't. The roads were just blocked with just buildings and everything. And so when we finally found our way there, and we got through, I got up to the gate with some of Jerry's guys, and I was like, "Hey, where's your platoon sergeant and PL?" They're like, "Go right down this road. You'll see them. It's this big gray building on in front of a bunch of tents." And I walked down there and I saw Jerry come out of the gate, and I was just like, "Oh, thank God! It's at least it's somebody that I know and trust." But it was a quick handoff. I think
I tell you, man, like we got in the country and got a quick air assault by the Navy to like their embassy or whatever. It was wild, bro. But going to that hospital, and you could talk more about it too. Like I don't think I've ever seen destruction like I saw at Haiti. Like it looked like something out of World War II. Like you would see every building was just, it was leveled. Like everything looked like they did a bombing run and everything. And like the smell of death, dude, especially in the hospital, because there was like that nurses academy that was there and all those people were dead inside. And then
134 bodies in that building.
And then you had like the morgue or something in the back. But dude, when we got there, and the boys tried, same as you, like we had to stand out in the gate. We had to stand there, try to form positions around the fucking perimeter. Guys, we had a limited ROE. It was hot. We were still having earthquakes, right?
Yeah.
Like, and at night you could hear shit going down that was really bad. I won't get into what that is, but there was like shit happening at night out there that you just hear screams and shit. But it was just a wild thing. And there was no room. You had to hot bunk like you're in the Navy. Like if you're on duty, you were out and then come back, sleep in the same spot. There was like no beds. You just had to find it. But it was intense. It was an intense deployment. It was fucking miserable, right? It just sucked, right? For me, all the combat experience I had, I was in a culture shock from what I was seeing, right? Yeah. The boys were helping people out, but I remember you guys rolling up, and I was like, "Fuck yeah, bro!" Like here they come, like. But yeah, man, it was a good handover, and that was that deployment. Every time after we left out of Haiti, I was like, God, I hope we don't go back to Haiti.
Yep.
I'll send me back to Afghanistan or fucking Iraq, but not go back to Haiti. But yeah, it was intense because I don't think the amount of death that we witnessed on the civilian side of the house on that deployment was insane.
Yeah, and I've had people ask me about that tour, and I always tell them, I said, I saw more death and destruction in those 4 months in Haiti than I did in all my combat time combined. It was just, like you said, you could smell it. It just loomed over everything. But yeah, we took over the hospital. I think I spent 2 weeks there, just my platoon, and then our entire company finally showed up. And it was a rotation initially where we would have guys. So basically, when I got there, I kind of followed in Jerry's footsteps. I put a team at the gate, and then I had my squad leaders. I had 3 of them walk the perimeter, find the openings.
Yeah.
What do we need to put a gun at, or come up with a way to block it? I was like, and let's put in some gun positions. I was like, doesn't mean they have to be active gun positions, but I want somebody standing there with a gun to deterrent. And then I wanted to go around and see, because there were so many tents everywhere. Well, this compound, there's multiple buildings, but nobody was living in them. They evacuated everybody to the streets of this compound, and they were all in these tents. We were the only ones living in a building. And it was a little bit scary, because we did get the aftershocks and stuff's falling on us. And we're like, everybody out. And then it would stop. And we're like, all right, everybody go back in and go to bed. But we kind of folded in that suit. So we set it up, and then the rest of BCO showed up, and basically CO First Sergeant came in and said, hey, what do you got? So I walked the first sergeant in, and the platoon sergeants around, showed them everything. And then it was, okay, well, we're going to do a rotation. We'll do so many hours on security. Everybody else will either be on standby for doing HA drops, or doing the medevacs, because we couldn't bring a bird in. So we were doing ground evacs all the time down to the flight line. And I think I did 1 HA drop, and I looked at my PL and I said, no, I can't do this, because it was us in 3rd platoon, and one of the 3rd platoon boys kind of got into it with a local, because a female had gotten her drop and walked out of our perimeter, and she got mugged right away. And a local came and took it. And one of the 3rd platoon boys was like, that's not right. And he went and he dealt with it. Yeah. Well, the news happened to be there. And so, granted, it didn't make it out, but it was enough scuffle that it got brought to battalion's attention. And I was like, I am not putting our boys in this, like, because my boys they're going to do something. They're not going to allow it. Well, later that night, that's the very same night, I would quite frequent go down to the trauma tents that were right at the front gate, and I would kind of help out, because I've got I put myself, before the Army, I had done some EMT courses, a lot of first responder courses. So I had a lot of medical knowledge. So I went down there to help out. My medic came down to help out. And that night, at a certain point, all the doctors left. They were like, it's not safe here. We're going back to the hotel. I'm like, what do you mean it's not safe here? You have a company of airborne, infantrymen securing this place. This is probably one of the safest places there is inside the city. And they're like, well, no, we're not allowed to be here. So they left. And I went back and I said something to my commander about it. And our PA happened to be on site with us. So he's making phone calls, and that's what it was. The docs were all leaving at night. The next night we watched it again. So I went to my PL and I said, sir, what do you think about this? I was like, we give up HA missions. And he goes, and do what? I was like, we will run the gate all day long. Let the other platoons do HA drops and relax. At night, we will run this hospital. With all of our guys who have medical training, we will run this hospital with the other medics, and we will still do the medevacs. And he goes, I like it. We pitched it to our command team, and they were like, can you do this? And I'm like, yeah, we can do this. And that's what we did.
Awesome.
I assisted with delivering 3 babies. 2 of our medics Googled how to do a blood transfusion, and they did a blood transfusion on somebody. We were running that hospital till a doctor from LA. He's originally from, I want to say it was Japan. He had brought his place down in LA and came to Haiti to help out. And he had heard about what we were doing, and he came every afternoon and stayed till the doctor showed up in the morning and worked with us. And it was amazing. We did a lot of good. We saved an 18-year-old kid who got crushed. lost a couple limbs, but we bagged him for hours.
Yeah.
And
I think that was hard, dude, because I don't think we were ready for politics of that shit too. Like some of those doctors looked at our guys and like, why do you have fucking weapons? And
yeah,
you know, like who was that actor? There was a fucking actor rolling around like fucking Sean Penn rolling around talking shit, and it was just different for us, you know. So Haiti was fucking shit show.
Yeah, it was. And then we got pulled back down to the White Falcons AO, which was on the beachfront. And we're sitting there one day and it was dusk. And next thing you know, we're taking rounds. I don't know if you guys heard about this, Jerry, but we were taking rounds, and it was from the UN. They were shooting at somebody, but they said they got PID of a weapon. But they were actually engaging a target. But what they were seeing was us on the other side of this fence. So they were engaging our fence line, and we're pinned down, and like we were about to start returning fire till we got told, no, just sit there. We're getting a hold of them. Just stay behind cover. Do not shoot back. And we're like, we're getting actively shot at. It didn't last long, and eventually the UN wasn't allowed to actually come down by us anymore. But yeah, it was just, and it was one of those trying times because we're sitting there, we're here to help. We're told this isn't combat, but now we're getting shot at by what's supposed to be a coalition force, and we're told just sit here and take it. And
Chris, have you ever worked with blue helmets?
Not like that. I did when I was stationed in Israel, but that was
we weren't used to that shit, bro. That
was a different beast.
So you did Haiti, right?
Yeah.
What was next after Haiti?
O&D.
O&D.
Yep.
Yeah.
You done.
When? I think I got there right before O&D.
You came in right before, because we got back from Haiti. We did our transition. We were all out in the field doing platoon sticks, and that's when Jack Love came in, and we did his ceremony out there on Live Fire Range in front of the range. And that was the day I became BCO's first sergeant.
Yeah, because we went back from Haiti, and then we went to Afghanistan.
Yeah, you guys pushed out right away.
We went fucking right back to Afghanistan. We came back from Haiti, loaded up, and then fucking, I don't know, a couple months after Haiti went to Afghanistan. Nothing. I mean, it's just some training of eyes and assist stuff. But yeah, man, that's crazy. Because I remember Jack went over there, and Jack called me. I got picked up and all this. I don't know how I did. I never updated my records or anything. I
remember I was there when you got your diamond. I remember.
Yeah. And I was like, what the fuck? You know, and so Jack is, you know, me and Jack, we always had a relationship back when I was, a young little Joe NCO back then. But he's like, yeah, you're coming over to White Falcons. And I was like, fuck, okay. That's the nerves, man. Because I knew the reputation of that company, and I knew a reputation of the White Falcons. And, man, it was nerve-wracking, bro. Like, I ain't going to lie. To going over there the first day. But for me to be put in that position to go into a bunch of guys like you guys and, doing that first sergeant thing, it was awesome. You know, I couldn't be in a better position than I would have been in, taking any other place, but it was an amazing experience. But yeah, I loved it.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, Jack brought me down to his office, and he let me know, hey, just so you know, you've done a great job, but I've got a diamond coming in. And all I was thinking is, oh, great, they're bringing somebody from outside, even though I knew we just, promoted, I think there was 5 of you at that time. But then he brought me down and he told me that. He's like, I'm going to bring First Sergeant Heim in. And I was like, okay. And he's like, looked at me and he was like, you're okay with that? I'm like, Jerry? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine with that. Yeah. I was like, I will work for him. I was like, I will hand off everything. I will, show him what I've got working, and I will go back to my platoon if that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I was like, let's go.
Yeah. I was lucky. It's good company, man. Like that was it was hard. I think we went in there. I think we had Captain Maine, Tony
Yep.
Maine at the time, which he's a hard charger, bro. He was a hard charger.
Well, I mean, when anybody leaves Ranger Battalion as a staff sergeant and goes OCS to become, I mean, he was already that guy.
I mean,
there was no bullshit in him.
Oh, I know, dude. Ex-Ranger Regiment guy.
Yeah,
He was a stone-faced officer.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Very, very smart at how he does things. He thinks everything through. But he was funny. Like, he had this behind-the-scenes humor to him too, bro. Like, he was, and I was super nervous too, because I was like, man, this guy's got legit, street cred at Ranger Regiment, and being a first sergeant for the first time, going in there and hanging with him, and he brought me on board, right? And I think the platoon sergeants that we had in that company were just fucking. I think all the NCOs and all the officers. It was a great place to be, So we loaded up, and then we headed to O&D.
Yeah, O&D was different because starting off, I had to start training with the stability transition team because I got that mission right off the get-go, which still blew my mind. Like, I knew what our mission was going forward for O&D, and we're breaking down and we're collapsing everything, and we're just securing the AO for the withdrawal.
It was just like the last deployment, Chris.
Right?
But
yeah, this one was a little bit better.
Yeah.
But when they said, hey, 2 Bravo is going to go and you're going to work with these stability transition teams, I was like, okay. And then when we started meeting all the officers, like, it was cool. And we'd done our little dignitary escort and doing KLEs and everything. And we kind of had it set up, and everything was great till we hit boots on the ground, and they pushed us. I mean, we went to Al Assad, and then they pushed my Advon out to Camp Majid, where the 7th IA is, where this SCT was. And I got out, I've linked up with their Sec 4 platoon sergeant. And then I met the sergeant major for the STT, which was a master sergeant. And he goes, who's your NCOIC? And I said, well, I am. He goes, no, not for the Sec 4. Who's the NCO? Who's coming out here? I said, I'm the most senior NCO that they got. I was like, we don't have one. And he goes, well, that's not going to fly. You have to, because there's a sergeant major here with the 7th IA that's expecting an NCO. Well, then I know I came back and I told you, Jerry, I came back to the company. I was like, hey, we're supposed to have an E8 or an E9 out there. And then I had a meeting with Love, with Jack, and I told him. And then next thing they know, they're like, well, guess what? That's you.
Yeah.
You're going to be the sergeant major. And I'm like, whoa, we're skipping ahead here. I'm like, I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to be doing then. And he goes, you'll be fine.
You're perfect, man.
And running that mission, it was great. We did travel. We went out, we did KLEs, but I spent most of my time working with Major, and it was great. I mean, part of my thing was beefing up Camp Majid, our little LSA that we had. Nobody close to us. 7th IA weren't going to defend us, because when they came into Camp Majid, they cleared all weapons, and every one of their weapons got turned in. I mean, that command group out there, they weren't allowing BS to happen with their troops. So it was just us. And at the time, it was a platoon. It was a platoon. And I think I had 7 officers, 7 field grades, and then our platoon. And that was it in this little LSA. And I was like, I just remember sitting down with my LT one night and going, if we get attacked. And he goes, yeah. I mean, there's some Texas barriers and Jersey barriers, but that was it. And one fence line. But the shelf that opened us, that came off of the flight line, anybody could get up on that thing and just shoot down into us. So I started doing some digging and asking for favors, and we got more Jersey barriers. We got concertina wire. We started building ramparts, requested more personnel. So we got MPs out there, gave them a mission. So they were working with the IA as well, got mechanics out there. I think at the end of it, at the end of our mission there, we were almost a company-sized element living out there, and the security.
You guys got pretty tight out there too, man. The boys and stuff, you know.
Yeah, the boys. I mean, we would twice a week we would do family dinner. If you weren't on guard, and out around the fire pit and would eat dinner together.
Evan, I think we're losing you a little bit, man.
So, Jerry, do you know how long you was out there?
Man, we were out there for a good couple months. Yeah, he was out there for a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I lost you there. I don't know if we're getting storms or what, but yeah, we were out there for quite a while. But it was great. I mean, we had our gym. They had plenty of room because it was a big LSA. And the boys they got really close. I mean, they took care of each other, and it was awesome to see. Yeah. But then I had that looming night. So I used to have to go into the Cubs and the Bubs every night with our S3, which was weird because I'd have to drive in. We typically drove separate vehicles, just civilian vehicles. So we'd have to have our gear in the vehicle. We weren't allowed to be kitted up and drive. So drive up to the gate. I remember getting up to the battalion area and walking in. I don't know, Jerry, I don't know if you remember this, but I remember walking down to the battalion classroom for the meeting and you yelling at me from Sergeant Major's office. And I walked in there and the battalion commander, Sergeant Major, you, the CO, and the chaplain are sitting there. And the chaplain's like, Haven, why don't you have a seat? And I'm like, what's going on? And I just remember looking at you and I'm like, First Sergeant, what's going on? And you're like, why don't you have a seat? And I was just like, no, fucking tell me what's up. And you were like, Jesse's in the hospital. Mm-hmm. And the colonel's like, the birds, I have our aircraft on the way. You are leaving tonight. And they're like, well, once you get back to, where were we out of? Taji at the time? Brigade was out of Taji.
Yep.
They were like, once you get to Taji, you'll be getting flown straight to BIOP again, the packet, and you're going straight to Kuwait. You got an aircraft. You're going home tonight. Mm-hmm. And not knowing, just all I knew, she was in the hospital, which and it was crazy at the time. So my wife was born with a heart condition, but she was also pregnant at the time, and they were worried that she may have to have open heart surgery because there was an issue with her heart and the baby at the same time. So I was burning out. Went home that night and. I literally got there. I remember getting back to the States, getting picked up by a buddy of mine, getting to the hospital, getting up to the room, and she's sitting there. She's like, wow, that was quick. And I'm like, what's going on? And she's like, oh, it's not as bad as they thought, but the baby is coming. I'm like, well, how's your heart? And she's like, I'm going to be fine. I don't need surgery. And the doctor kind of explained stuff and said, have you eaten? And I'm like, no, I haven't eaten in like 48 hours. And she's like, well, go down to the cafeteria, get food. And I remember going down and coming back up and I'm in me. And she said, you better hurry up because you're about to miss the birth of your child. And I just dropped my food right there and ran to the room. And yeah, we had our youngest and everything was fine. And a week later, I was itching to get back. It sounds bad, but I was itching to get back to my boys because they were down there without me. And flew all the way back, and we went to Taji. And come to find out that the whole battalion had moved from Al Assad, closed it down, and went there. And then we moved from Taji down to Baghdad.
Yeah, we were like the main effort for the battalion and on the COP here. Like we had our own little, Chris. We had this. We were inside this Iraqi military compound, and it was just our company. Like the rest of the battalion was at Bataji or whatever. They could have been other places. My memory's not as good as it used to be, but
we were the last U.S. element living on a COP outside of a major wire.
But we built the shit out of this thing, man. I got cooks over there. We built a chow hall. Like it had a little bear. Like it was fucking nice. We made it into something really, 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 really cool. It was good being away from the flagpole and then like having the sustainment and stuff. The battalion was getting us the chow, and it was just good for the boys. They had their own little gym. Like it was pretty awesome.
It was a company minus because 3rd Platoon was still up at Taji. But so it was 1st, 2nd headquarters. Every platoon had their own building minus platoon sergeant PLs. We all lived in the main building, the headquarters building with 1st Sergeant CO. So, but it was tight knit, and we were running our missions. We were still doing the stability transition stuff for what it was left of it. I mean, we only had a couple officers. But I mean, we even brought the PA down. We had our own little cache set up, and we were boots on the street again. It felt like old school. I mean, we were, walking out the back door, walking out the wire, doing patrols on the road all over again.
What's the situation on the ground like right now?
It wasn't bad. Yes, there were still firefights. They weren't directed at us though. I know, Jerry, we sat that one night watching tracers flying over.
Yeah, it was just a lot of politics, Chris. So like, there's a lot of sensitivities about where we could go and what we could do. We could only go so far from our COP, but we still had to send guys out on patrol because you just what you do. But there was a lot of sensitivities on things, man. Like you couldn't. I was supposed to work with the sergeant major there, and that kind of got cut back a little bit. So, it was very sensitive because a lot of assets, when Haven goes in a little story here in a little bit about stuff that's happened, but a lot of assets we didn't have. So it was very limited on what we could do.
So this is circa what, 2011?
2012.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But it wasn't bad. Like, I mean, for us who were there, I mean, Jerry was there at the very beginning, but me coming in YF3, but walking on the road, the streets. I mean, Jerry went out on patrols with us. Like he wasn't. I mean, you can't tie. Chris, you can't tie this guy up. Like he might have been wearing the diamond, but he was going out. He was going out on patrols with us. And
motherfucker deployed to Afghanistan. What, not even 6 months after what was quite frankly life-saving gallbladder surgery.
Yeah, almost died.
Yeah. So yeah, I get
it on Facebook.
Yeah.
But I mean, that he'd go out with us, and I remember one day we stopped on. It was the day. I think we were getting what the hell are those energy drinks for the birds? No.
Yeah.
The tigers. The tigers.
Yeah. So I had a buddy, Chris, just the conversation we had today about the Kyle guy.
Yeah.
So this dude would fly. So here's a funny story. It was like 4 o'clock at 5 o'clock in the morning. And this dude would buzz our fucking cop, like, wake your fucking first sergeant up, whatever.
Yes, he would.
He would. So he would land and bring shit for the boys.
Nice.
The cop. So I couldn't. Tyler Williamson, if you're out there, brother, appreciate it. They love that.
Which just showed how good of a pilot he was, because our helipad was walled in and was not set up for a takeoff for a Kiowa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they literally had to land and then they would hover into a corner and go diagonally to get enough elevation and speed to get over the wall.
Yeah.
Because it was walled up that high.
Yeah.
But I just remember that day we were out there getting drinks for him because they requested us to get him some drinks. And we stopped and we were like, holy shit. There was a female driving this bright yellow Mustang, and she got out wearing Western clothing. Like she had a belly shirt on, tight jeans, and she's smoking a cigarette and had her makeup on. And we're like, yeah, you rewind a decade, you're never going to see this. Like she looked like she belonged in the United States. Like it just showed like, and everybody, the boys who've never been deployed before, they're like, couldn't figure out why we were in such awe. Yeah. This was norm for them, but like we're sitting here going, no,
never seen it.
We would have never seen this before.
Yeah. Never saw that in Afghanistan. That's for sure.
But it kind of made us go, well, whatever we are doing, we're doing it right because people feel safe enough. This female feels safe enough that she can do this.
Yeah.
So it was definitely a change, but yeah, getting to it, we didn't always have everything we needed, so we'd have to go back to Taji to get certain supplies.
So I had to go back for a meeting, right? So we had this meeting we had to go, Chris, and kind of didn't want to go, to be honest with you. Kind of called battalions, okay, kind of got to get up here. It was a meeting, whatever. So I always roll with second platoon was just a fun platoon. They're just good dudes. They're just funny. They're just funny guys, man. It's good. As a leader, you always want to pick all the platoons were good. So anybody out there talking shit, like all the platoons are good. The second platoon was good too. It was just fun. I think we had to go out there, go to Taji just for a couple hours, and I'll let Haven tell what happened when we get up there. But I just jumped in the platoon and we took off to Taji for a meeting.
As a leader, one of the things that we're always taught to try to do with training and soldiers and whatnot is you got to be prepared for everything, right? Especially in the infantry, because you to quote one of my spiritual leaders, Forrest Gump, life's like a box of chocolates. You never know what the fuck you're gonna get, right? Yeah. Which is kind of what I was talking about before with you. How do you deal with that? And I asked about the family side, but on the soldier side. And this bears, I think, on the situation that we're about to get into here when y'all are going down to Taji. It's like your mindset is one way. Prior to Haiti, going all of that, it's like, hey, we're kinetic. I know that's how it was during that time frame over in the 173rd, doing two essentially back-to-back deployments with them to Afghanistan. We're going there and we are going to fucking try to kill bad guys. That is all we really cared about. Sure, we did some HA stuff and tried to bring in solar panels and fix water supplies and stuff, but it was all about let's try to kill some fucking bad guys because we know they're all over this place. To then at a moment's notice, because y'all are on Green Ramp and y'all are fucking, guess what? You're not going to Afghanistan. You're going to fucking Haiti. So yeah, all those 240s, all your heavy weapons, you don't need those. Okay, what about this ammo for my M4? Am I supposed to lock and load? No, because the ROE is permissive and it's non-lethal, or non-permissive because it's non-lethal. And so like to be able to switch our minds like that, and not just as leaders, but then soldiers on the ground that maybe aren't as used to it, haven't seen it as much as us, that is a very difficult thing to do, right? So right now you're sitting in Taji, your experience, God, can't talk right now. You are experiencing, and that's a fucking easy word, what a lot of Army people consider like the doldrums of the middle of a deployment, where it's just kind of like, oh yeah, we're going to go pull some guard. We're going to go do this. Then we're going to go to the chow. Then we're going to work out a shit ton. Then we're going to go back. We're going to fucking maybe, I don't know if guys were playing video games in the hooches or not then. I know they guys always find a way to fucking play video games on
they did.
I don't know how. Yeah. And so it's you're in this routine, right, where everything just kind of seems, you get a sense of normalcy, and you're not really, you get lulled into thinking things are normal, whatever normal is. and then
Yeah.
you take my battle buddy down the Taj.
Yeah. I think that's how we kind of were rolling out the gate that day, right? Like,
Yeah.
nothing happened up to that point, you know. So,
and I will say this: when I was that young E5, yeah, I was an E5. No, I think I was still an E5. I was an E5, and I wasn't a Jumpmaster yet at Bragg, and I was doing shoot shakeout, and I was the NCOIC of it, and I remember listening to two specialists bicker back and forth one night, and I intervened, and I was like, "Why the hell are you guys yelling at each other?" And one was a fister, and I want to say one was one of our heavy wheel mechanics, and they were bitching back and forth about whose job was more important. And I finally intervened, and I was like, "Right now is not the time. Like, you guys have this conversation over beer later on." I was like, "Just get back to getting these." I mean, we had a shit ton of shoots. It was one of the big JFACs. Like, we just got all their shoots in. So, but I remember turning and walking away from them, and it was like, but to settle it, I was like, the infantry is the most important. And I remember one of them, the fister, going, "Well, you can't do my job." I said, "Well, yes, I can." "Are you a JFO?" And he said, "No." I was like, "Well, guess what? One of my tasks for EIB is your job." And I was like, and oh, by the way, I don't take mechanics to the field. So if I have a truck, guess what? We have to be able to fix our own trucks, or at least maintain them to where they roll. I was like, that's the great thing about the infantry. We go ahead of everybody else, but we have skill sets, or we get the training to where we can, knock out almost any task that's thrown at us. We're able to flip that switch. I know on Telefar, I was one of 3 people that knew anything about a 113, and that was our medevac vehicle.
Yeah, nobody knew shit about those things.
Yeah, and it was Seister, Skinny. I don't know if you remember him, Jerry.
Yeah, I remember him.
Seister was a weapons squad leader in 1st Platoon, me as a line squad leader, and then our 1st sergeant. Only 3 people who knew anything about a 113. So we were the ones who maintained it. Even the medics who were running that thing had no idea. They knew how to drive it, and that was it. But I think I pushed that a lot in my, my paratroopers, that you have to be prepared for anything. So any class that you can get in on, because you never know when we're going to need it.
Mm-hmm.
And that day, November 14th, Jerry had a meeting with Sergeant Major. I had a meeting with Sergeant Major on what I was going to do next after this deployment. I know my PL had a bunch of, he was tasked with all sorts of officer stuff that he was supposed to go do for, commander and everybody else. Medic had to go pick up supplies. Our mechanic had to go pick up, parts for some of the trucks. And then my boys had lists from everybody. They were going to go raid the PX and bring stuff back. And we did. We set out. It was early morning. Sun was just coming up. We drove through Baghdad. We got through the Hell's Gates. We're heading north. And, it was like anything. ROE at that time was way different. We weren't allowed to drive blackout. We had, you had to drive between the hours of sunlight. Like, so we had to leave that night. We were supposed to leave before it got dark. And we were not allowed to travel without air assets. And I remember getting on the road, and everything was fine until we got close. I want to say we were 2 or 3 miles south of Taji, and lead gun truck starts calling in. They're taking mortars. We heard them. We couldn't, from where I was sitting, and I don't think Jerry could see them from where he was sitting in his truck, because you were in the trail truck, right?
Yeah, I was in the trail truck.
Yep. And I was right in front of him, and I couldn't see him. We could hear him, but my squad leader in the lead truck said, there's mortars landing in front of him. And the signs were there. We saw the signs driving up that day. These were old school signs. There was rocks with markers on the side of the road. I don't know, Jerry, if you remember seeing the dead cow that had been laying on the road. It was bloated, but the center of it had been cut out and had been sewn back shut.
Mhm.
Old school IED trick. We went over, under an overpass that you could see the remnants of old IEDs, but there was markers up there. So like, we're getting a little, all of us who've been there and done things, we were getting a little edgy, but now we're getting mortared, and we call it up. And White Mane said, nope, it's CIA training. They're not aiming mortars at you. They're shooting them the other way. And I remember flipping into my, internal net and telling my PLS, this is bullshit. It's like, these rounds are close. I trust my squad leader. And we'd stopped. We weren't moving. And I made the command decision. I called back to my weapons squad leader and I said, push the traffic past us, because they were all sitting behind us. I was like, send them by us. And my PL asked me what I was doing. I said, once traffic gets in front of you, start driving. Stay with them. I was like, it's not ethical in any means. It's nothing we've ever trained, but we are going to drive amongst the people.
Yeah.
We'll see if they keep launching mortars. And they didn't. They stopped shooting mortars at us. And we drove that way the rest of the way. We got in there. I know I kind of vented to Jerry for a moment. I was like, what the fuck was this?
I was pretty angry too with reporting on that.
But he went to do his thing. I had my meeting later on after his. The boys went and did everything. We all met up at the DFAC to have chow and at a certain time. And then we got done eating. We're like, all right, let's go. And we're going to do our ramp site brief. We're going to get back. So got accountability, everybody. We pushed our ramp site brief. It was starting, like the sun was starting to go down, and my FO comes over and he tells me, we just lost our air.
Yeah. So when we were in the back talking about that, and I was like fucking really angry about that, by the way.
Yeah.
So I was trying to reach through the radio. I was like, why the fuck we don't have air? Like it just was, honestly, it was unacceptable to me. Right. And like not having the air, like the Kiowas are not like to come escort us down. And me and the FSO NCO were just like, what the fuck, dude? He kept trying through battalion, and I don't know the reason. I know it was like short of assets, because we were getting close.
I found out it was Victory, or whatever they were calling it at that time, was taking IRAMs.
Yeah.
So they pulled all the air assets over there. So everybody lost them. So to me, we were told we were not allowed to go anywhere without air. So I looked at Jerry and said, well, then we'll just lock it up. We'll spend the night and we'll hit it first thing in the morning. He agreed.
Mm-hmm.
So I called it in. And I called White Mane and said, hey, we're just going to lock our trucks up. Is there somewhere we can sleep? We'll spend the night, hit it first thing in the morning. And then we got told to stand by. And then they came back on the net and said that we needed to go ahead and RTB, go ahead and SB and head back down south. And I tried fighting with him over the net. And then White 3, I can't remember who it was at the time, but he came on the net and he said, you have to leave. You have to go back. And this time it's starting to go down. Like the sun's going down. It's starting to get dark. So I remember looking at Jerry and said, you want to go old school?
Did y'all have a mission coming up? I mean, I'm trying to, and I got it. None of us are going to, at least not on open comms.
Like, hey, we're not bashing anybody.
No. No, I know. But we're not going to be like, hey, why the fuck do I need to come back right now? I'm trying to mentally piece this together. Like, what is the urgency?
Their mindset was, so we were already a company minus down there. And you got to think, we were on a base with a Iraqi division. And I think it was a division plus, if I remember.
It was big.
Correctly. Yeah, it was huge.
It was like right north of the green zone, Chris.
So we just left a platoon plus sitting down there by themselves with all these Iraqis around them. So White Mane's mindset was, we needed to get back. So, cool. Orders in order. So Jerry and I were like, okay, so you want to go old school? And he's like, yeah. I was like, all right, boys, this is what's going to happen. We're going to run completely blackout. Everybody's going to be on nods. We're going to be within 25 meters so our Dukes can do their thing. and we were only going to go as fast as the slowest truck. We're going to go over the speed limit. I was like, but every marker that we knew that we saw on the way up there, we're going to just constantly herringbone. We're just going to keep flip-flopping the side of the road. And everybody was on board, and it was good. And so we took off. And honestly, didn't even realize that we weren't the only ones in this boat. Our Alpha company was right behind us. They were in the same boat. And which for Sergeant Mazuela, I mean, he was not too far behind us, having to do the same thing. But we took off, and I think we got a mile north of Hell's Gates, which is basically, and I just remember seeing a flash, and then, I mean, it was just like an overwhelming boom, and then it was just dust. I could see the trucks in front of me, but I lost my lead truck. I couldn't see it. And so I don't remember who was the first one on the net, but I remember keying my mic up and yelling and basically saying IED, 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 and telling everybody, all trucks stop, herringbone right.
Yeah.
And I
remember that too, because I was sitting there, I think it was in Barton's truck. And, for me as a first sergeant, these were your platoon, bro. Like I was along for the ride at that point. Right. So it just, hearing the explosion and then hearing you guys call the radio, I think, we had to get up there to you guys. I think moving up, and then I think you guys were, I'll let you tell the story. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, to make it worse, we had just found out we were 22 days from going home.
Yeah.
So the boys who were back at Taji when they were there were calling, I'll be home soon. They were excited, and they were excited to get back and tell everybody else, hey, we just found out we're going home. So I call it, everybody stops. My truck, like my medic's already, he's out of his harness. He's grabbing his aid bag. He's starting to go through stuff. And I know I had to tell him to calm down. My FO is trying to get air. The one that was in my truck. My gunner's trying to tell me what he could see. And I just remember hearing my PL, who was not going to bash him, but I will put it, I was his last chance. He'd already done enough, and I think 2 other platoons that basically the battalion commander said, hey, if Crecelius can't get him straight, basically he's done as an infantry PL, like we're getting rid of him. And him and I didn't see eye to eye on a lot of things. Like, it's like with your family, you don't talk politics, and you don't talk, or with friends, you don't go and try and talk politics or religion. You don't push your thoughts on, but that's what he did. And I'd always try and tell him, you can't do that on the boys. You don't do that. We didn't see eye to eye on a lot of things, but he was on the mic, and he just kept calling 2-1, over the net. Constantly 2-1, come in 2-1. And I'm sitting there, finally I'm like, break. I was like, sir, if he's not responding, he's either dead or there is no communication with his truck. Let the dust settle, and we will figure it out from there. And we did, and we had to sit there, and it felt like forever. But it wasn't that long, looking at it now. But the dust settled. Lead truck, I had all flat tires. It was smoking. There was no power to it whatsoever. Everything was dead on it, and you could see it through our night vision. There was no power, no lights on. And then slowly I could see the TC door kind of start to push open, and then I watched my squad leader, Staff Sergeant Welch. He just kind of falls out of it, and there was smoke billowing out of the door, and he turned and looked back and started going like this. And then he was doing this. And I was like, all right, he's got 0 comms, but he kept pointing at the truck. So to me, he was like basically telling us, hey, we've got wounded. So I jumped on the net, and I told everybody, I called back to 2-4, my weapon squad leader, Staff Sergeant Barton. I told him that I wanted him. I was going to shoot the gap, and I was going to establish a CCP on basically the west side of the gun truck. There was a field, and then further out there was a compound, but a big field, and I was going to block that area with my truck because I had an RG-33. It was huge. I was like, I'm going to block it, and we're going to set up the CCB right there, or the casualty collection point right there, because my RG, we'd taken the back 8 seats out of it and set up hanging litters in it. I mean, it was a mobile ambulance basically. And I told Barton, I was like, when I get up there, I want you to collapse everybody around us. And I called the PL's truck. I told him I wanted him to hop the median, go 300 meters south. I was like, nobody comes north. I was like, warning shots authorized. I'm like, nobody comes up. And then I just remember saying, look out, boys, here I go. Here we come. And we went, I just looked at my driver. I'm like, go. And we went gunning up there, and I wasn't thinking correctly at the time. I jumped out. I didn't even grab my rifle. I had my pistol on me, my 9mm, but I didn't even grab my rifle. I didn't even take my headset off. My helmet ended up coming flying off. And I ran over to Welch, and I said, what do you got? And I'm like, as I'm looking him over, and he didn't have any real bad injuries. He had some scrapes, inhaled a lot of smoke, and he said he thought everybody in the back was injured. His gunner was bleeding and tangled up in all of his harness and his wires from his headset, and was sitting up in the hellhole. And about that time, the driver, Evan Standifer, he come out, and he was basically the same as Welch. I told him, I was like, stay here, pull security. I was like, we'll get you guys off the X. So it's like, just stay right here at the truck. And I ran to the back, and we couldn't, I mean, the hatch was up. I mean, like, you couldn't get in, and we'd have to crawl in to get it to come down. And about that time, I see our gunner, Carl, he'd started to climb out. He'd cut the wires. He'd gotten out of his harness, and he cut the wires and was pushing himself to the TC's door. So I pulled him out, got him down on the ground, and I looked at him, and I said, can you make it to my truck? His legs were, I mean, anywhere from a penny to a Copenhagen-sized can, holes just straight through his leg. I believe it was his right calf was completely gone, and his tib fib were exposed. I mean, he was just peppered hard. But he was there. I mean, and it's like, I looked at him, and it's like, Carl, can you get to my truck? And he was like, Roger. And you could see he was in pain. I mean, he is tearing up, but he just started scooting. And I went back to the ramp, and it was already starting to come down. Our mechanic was in the back of the truck. And even though he was wounded, he had grabbed the tool, and he started hand cranking the ramp down. I got in there, checked him out, and I thought his femur was snapped, and his right leg, I think it was his right leg, because he had this just huge welt, like just, I mean, a big old, like, on his skin was just bulging, and I thought his femur was snapped. And Espenshade was not a little man.
No, not at all.
He was like 6'3", probably 280, and big old Eskimo. I mean, he was a big boy. And I just remember I told him, I was like, Espenshade, I'm gonna get you out of here. And he helped crawl down the ramp, but I drug his ass over to my truck, and I pulled him up into my truck, and I put a tourniquet on his leg, and I kind of propped it up and stabilized it the best I could. And I ripped his IFAC off, and I said, you have a hole in the side of your face. You need to patch it up. I can't do it for you. And I left the truck. And then that's when I linked up with Barton, and I told him nobody goes in the truck until I inspect the rest of it, because I didn't know how bad it was going to be on the rest of the inside. Hickman was still in there. So I went in, and there was blood coming off the roof. There was somebody's skin hanging from the roof. And Hickman was humped over in his seat. So I checked his pulse. I didn't feel anything. And then I just knew that we had to get SI out. So I started grabbing SI, and I took it to the back of the truck. And I told Barton to, take it, and we're going to pull all the SI out, and we're going to throw it in his truck. And I think that's when I linked up with Jerry. And I
got there, and I was like, they were pulling Hickman out. And I was like, who the fuck is that? Like, I didn't know. I couldn't recognize him, dude.
Yeah.
Like, who is this? So
I told Barton with the SI, I told him where I wanted a HLZ set up. And I looked at our FO, and I said, get with the medic and start a 9-line. And we have a mass out. And I turned around, and I went back in the truck. And this is when you were coming up, Jerry, because something told me to check Hickman again. I took my glove off, and so he had a baseball size hole right here in his neck. Like, this was just gone. So I took my glove off, and I pushed harder up on his neck, and he just threw his head back and took this big gasp of air, and his eyes were just huge. And I just remember I said, David, can you hear me? And he just kind of looked at me, started looking around, but he wasn't really moving his head. And I put my hand in his hand and said, David, squeeze my hand if you can hear me. And he squeezed it. And David is also not a small guy. We used to call him the House, or his nickname was Zeus, but because there was no body fat on him. He lived in the gym.
One of the most popular guys in the company.
He was going to go far in his Army career. Yeah. Like he had everything it took. But he was there. So I told him I was going to get him out. I tried to pull him off his seat. The back of his gear was actually burned to the seat. So I kind of had to cut it a little bit and rip him off. Got him down on the floor, pulled him back. Barton came back up. This is when Jerry was coming up, and we're pulling him out. And we pulled him to the back of my truck. And that's when we could actually see the damage that he'd taken. And at this point, it really kind of set home. I didn't know what the blast was, but being in the truck, I started seeing what it was, and really got an idea later, but it was an EFP because there was copper. I took a piece of copper like that off of Hickman's plates. So he had all of his magazines stacked. Copper hit his magazines, kind of blew them out, and then kind of it just stuck there, but didn't go through. And we were smart. We knew the EFP stuff was there. We had water cans in between our MEP armor on the outside of our trucks. But he was in bad damage because it was a 5-array EFP. And when it went through, that thing every array it was like buckshot going through, and he had holes everywhere. So we really saw it. And basically our RTO was EMT qualified besides me, besides my medic. And we had one of our other guys. We all just started working on him.
Yeah, you guys started packing. I remember just working hard to pack all those wounds, man.
I put 2 tourniquets on his left bicep. The first one snapped when I was putting it on. So I put a second one on. I left it in place, and I put the second one on. That's when I realized his hand, it looked like somebody taking an ice cream scoop and basically just scooped out the back of his hand. His fingers were intact, but it was just his palm, and you could see up into his wrist. And I mean, it was holes everywhere. He took one directly to the crotch. He was messed up. We put a needle D in him. We put an MPA in him. We had everybody we could working on him. And then that's when people started coming out of the woodwork. Like, I had no idea where they were coming from, but we had a super clip that was coming up from the south, and they stopped and they started helping out. And then we had operators. No idea where they came from. We had some operators came out of nowhere, and I just remember this guy coming up next to me throwing an aid bag down, and he said, "My name's Mike. I'm here to help."
Yeah, I think too. It was I broke off to get on the radio with battalion.
I do remember.
I was super angry. Like I was like, we had the LZ, we established the LZ, and there was like, well, the bird's doing something else, and I and the S3, man, I think might have been, or the XO was like, and I love him to death, but man, I was throwing some cuss words at him. I was like, dude, get the fucking birds here now, like whatever. But just screaming on the radio, just the emotions, man, of just trying to get those birds, because again, lack of assets, right?
Yeah.
So, and we were in a waiting game, right?
Yeah. But I do. Go ahead, Jerry.
Go ahead, brother.
Oh no, I do remember like all of a sudden the FO coming and saying medevac's en route, and oh, by the way, we have aircraft stacked like every 1,000 feet. So like next thing you know, we've got little birds, we got Kiowas, we've got Black Hawk gunships. I guess I don't know where the hell they came from. Fast movers went by at one point, but then we had UAV like galore. They were just over top of us.
It took a while for some of that shit to get there.
Yeah. But and then Maz's platoon shows up, and I remember Maz coming running up with one of his. I don't remember if it was a platoon sergeant or squad leader, but Maz come up and he grabbed me and he said, "What do you need?" And I told him where I had people and where security was and where my HLZ was going to be at and what I had. I said, "Wherever you can fill in and help out." I was like, "Jump in," and he did, and it was great. And then we had Hickman Pack.
It was great having him there, bro.
Yeah, it was.
Awesome.
It felt good. I mean, yeah, getting the guys from the super clip, getting the operators there, but seeing our own showing up, it was a sense of relief. But then I know the birds were coming in. We had Hickman packaged up.
Do you remember when we were moving Hickman down to the bird and the medic? And it was one of those inside swivel stretcher, whatever.
Yeah.
And she couldn't operate it to get it. Like, I don't know if you remember that. And
she couldn't get it. I yelled. Yeah, I yelled at her because she couldn't get one.
I was like, get the fuck out of the way.
Once they got it in, they couldn't even get the arms collapsed for the door. Yeah. And she was just, I remember you yelling, "Get out of the way." And I know I was yelling at her. I said, "Can't you do your fucking job?" And I know I shoved her. It was, I don't know. It was a lot of emotions. But we got the boys loaded up. I think, and then
we jumped in with Maz.
You jumped in with Maz. Our FO fell off the back of the truck because of all the oil. He broke his wrist. Yeah. And so birds were up, they were gone. We still had, some birds overhead. Maz took off, and because they were going to the same location where the medevac was. So Jerry jumped in with them, and now I'm out there with my boys, and we're like, okay, well, we're waiting because they're going to send a vehicle out, a het to pick up this downed vehicle. And that's when I got told, hey, we have to go back. We're going back to Taji. And I was pissed. And I'm like, why? I'm like, I'm this close. Let me just send us the rest of the way. And they're like, no, you got to go back. They want to debrief. And that's when one of our other trucks just died. So now I'm really fucked because I got a truck that's blown up. I got another truck that just died and won't start. And I've got bodies kind of scattered. And one of our Delta sections was QRF, and they come rolling up. And this was Chris Newton's platoon. Yeah. But he didn't come out. His PL came out. And I remember going up to them and saying, I need to collapse everybody. We need to kind of get a little bit tighter because we're really spread out right now. And Barton coming up to me and telling me I needed to settle down. I hadn't had a dip in all night. It was one of the things that my guys would never roll out the wire unless I had a dip in. And because we're doing medical, I didn't know if I was gonna have to do mouth to mouth or anything. So I spit my dip out, and I guess Barton could see it. Loved Dan to death, but he's like, Haven, stop.
Yeah, it's good squalor, man.
He's like, put a dip in. You need just take a minute.
Yeah.
And I didn't think, and I still have bad flashbacks about this. I taste it. I didn't take my gloves off, and I just put a pinch in and put it in my mouth, and all I could taste was blood. Mm-hmm. And I remember spitting it out, and I kind of gagged for a minute, and Barton started yelling at the Delta driver, get him a bottle of water. And I had a moment where I broke down. Like I felt defeated. Like I felt like I wasn't doing enough for my boys. And Dan like literally grabbed me and he's like, let it out. You have 30 seconds.
Yeah.
He's like, get it out. He's like, because right now we need you. We didn't have confidence in our PL. I'd already had to tell him to go back to his truck and sit there because he was getting in the way and he froze. I mean, first time he saw one of our guys mess up, he just froze and he stood there, and I had to tell him to go back and sit in his truck and just sit there. But Dan kind of like, he stepped me out of it. He goes, now wash your hands, put a dip in. I need you to run our platoon. Yeah. And I don't know. It was a moment of clarity. I just kind of like snapped back into it. Dan and I figured out what we needed to do with, the Delta 4, and the Het showed up. We got everything, both trucks loaded up. We got guys cross-loaded, and we headed back to Taji. And we grounded everything. We locked our trucks up. They told us to go into the battalion classroom, and the battalion commander came in, and I just remember I was so angry because they made us take all of our gear, drop it in one room, and then they wanted us to attempt to clean up before we went in. And I looked down and I'm like, I've got blood all over me.
Yeah, because I went back to the cache to get to the casualties with Maz, and and we did. I remember walking in there, and those people. It was a slow time, right? And walked in. We just looked like we've been through hell, right?
Yeah.
But I remember, like, we linked up sometime that night somehow.
It was the next night.
Or the next night.
I got to talk to you on the phone.
Yeah.
But then it was the next night when we linked up. But we did a hot wash. They wanted a quick AAR, but the way they wanted us to do it, it wasn't quick. It was from SP time, what did you do? And they went through everybody, all the way down to when we got back to Taji. They wanted to go through everything. And at one point, and I will say this, BC did put out before we started, the XO did. He said, if it becomes too much and you need to take a break, just step out, come back. And I appreciated that. But at one point, the phone rang, the BC got on the phone. We kind of gotten to the point where Hickman was being medevaced. And the BC gets off the phone, and he turned around and he looked at us and told us that David didn't make it. And he said it was the one thing that we couldn't see that killed him, which was he was hemorrhaging on the brain. And I lost it. I was pissed. I was sad. I was everything. And I just got up. Barton tried to grab me, and I pushed him away, and I walked straight out, and I walked out of the battalion. And I remember I lost all strength. Like I couldn't walk. I started to fall. Chris Newton happened to be right. He was coming up there to find me with Quintana. And Chris caught me, and they drugged me kind of in between the building and the Alaska barriers. And Chris just held me. He's like, let it out, dude. He says, just get it out. Him and Quintana just sat there. And I lost it. I was furious because we should have never been in that position. I mean, Jerry and I, we had already kind of vented our frustrations at the beginning of the night. We weren't supposed to leave. That wasn't the battalion's call. That was brigade's call, that they said nobody leaves after the cover of darkness. Nobody leaves unless they have air support. And battalion told us we had to do all of that. So I was mad because I just had a guy die and I had wounded in the hospital for what? I was just furious. So I kind of let it out. I walked back in. XO stopped me before I walked in the battalion classroom again. And he said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "I will keep my mouth shut, but I will be fine. I have to be in here for my boys." And then he looked at me, he said, "I'm going to get your platoon uniforms to change into." He goes, "Because you can't continue to wear that."
Yeah.
Because again, I mean, I was blood soaked.
I think, man, my memory's not as good, Haven. I apologize, bro. But I remember at the hospital, dude, I thought it was you that was with me when they gave us, it was some of your boys. Somebody was with me that had blood on them too.
Welch and Stanford were there.
Might have been Welch or somebody was there, and they took us in because I know I had some you and me were digging through the truck looking for something. I think more sensitive items or whatever.
Yeah.
Like the cash gave them all new uniforms and stuff, which was good. But I tell you, man, like from the doctor's standpoint, they worked their asses off to try to save Hickman, man. The docs came out and talked to us. I think when we linked up, did you link up when Hall came out of being, he woke up and he was like, "Where's Hickman?" Were you there for that?
No, I wasn't there for that. We got there. It was right after they flew Hall out.
Yeah.
Which was later that next day.
Yeah. And that was tough, man. When Hall woke up and he's like, "Where's Hickman?" And kind of had to tell him the bad news, man. And I think Sergeant Major Love got there with us too. He showed up and came out to the hospital with us and linked up with me. And, he tells you, he's like, "Hey man, like, because Haven, you did a hell of a job that night, bro. Like you did everything you could do as a leader. I mean, I don't think there's anything in your mind. You're probably, well, I should have did this. I should have did that, but you can what if it all day, man. But your boys and yourself, like what I witnessed from those guys, and you did everything right, bro. And there's shit that we just can't control. Again, Maz from Alpha Company, thank you for being there. If you're going to listen to this, thank you everything you did to get my old ass over there to at least be at the hospital while this shit was happening, right? Like, I had to, as a leader, I was like, I got to get out there, man. I got to get the fucking cash at the hospital, whatever the fuck it was, man. As we were taking mortar fire there, and we had to lay on the ground. Like, everybody get on the ground. Like, what the fuck? It's 1,000 meters away.
That was me. That was me all night because they made us stay at Taji that night, and they found the boys places to stay. And Barton, me, and our medic, we slept at battalion because they wouldn't let us take our gear because it was covered in blood. So they said they had to stay there. So we slept in the room with the gear. I say slept. We really didn't sleep. We just kind of sat there. And then the next morning, XO came in and said, "Hey, Charlie 2 is going to take you guys back down to Baghdad. You're going to take your vehicles, but you're going to cross load and they'll get you down there." And so I linked up with Lieutenant Bergero and McDaniel, and we came up with a plan, and we rode down there. And I was itching. I was like, "Come on, let's just go. Like, we got to get back down there. I need to find out what's really going on." I didn't know that you weren't even back yet. And that's when we showed up there. Captain Clarkson came out and he was like, "Okay, this is what's going on. Your platoon is going to get flown in a couple hours up to the hospital, and you guys are going to be there for the Angel flight, and you guys are going to send David home," which was awesome. Like, that meant a lot. But I just remember having to go, and the uniform they gave me, I'm not a very big guy, but they gave me like a 2X battered old set of uniforms, and like that did not fit. So I went and showered quick. I put on my uniform. I still had my gear that had blood all over it, but I remember getting on the birds, and I waited to make sure everybody was on, and then I got on, and I was the first one off, and walking across the flight line and linking up with brigade command team and then the battalion command team. And then you were there. And I remember Jack Love telling me that he's like, you did everything right.
Yeah.
Don't beat yourself up. And then they introduced me to the doctor, and he said like he'd been doing this for 18 years, and he did, or what was it, 12 years, or I don't remember. It was something ridiculous. Like he served one tour in Iraq and then got out and then came back as a civilian to work in the hospital because he just felt that mission was so important. And he said out of all that time, he'd never seen somebody packaged up the way Hickman was.
Yeah.
He's like, you know, had it not been for the hemorrhaging on his brain, he goes, he would have survived. He goes, you guys put so much love and care into making sure that he stayed. He's like, you guys just couldn't see that one. He's like, I just want you to know. He's like, you did it right. And I mean, that meant a lot. But then, yeah, you know, going in and saying goodbye to him on the aircraft, finding out that Hall, you know, Carl had already, you know, making his way to Germany and not really having a good status on him. You know, it put a damper on everything. And now my mind is going back into the kinetic mindset. Like, okay, we got to get everybody else home. Like, what do we have to do to stay safe? And I know we had our little AAR back in our little compound. Sergeant Major Love was there, but we had the command team. I think Metter came in for that one. He was our third platoon sergeant. And we kind of hot washed as a platoon internally what went on. But before we got started, I kind of lost it on the boys. All of our new guys, all of the cherries, they just kept asking all tour, when are we going to see some action? And you know, all of us who've been through it, we kept telling them, you know, be prepared for it. Don't wish for it. When you wish for it, bad things happen. Yeah. And we've been beating that into their heads. And I know right before we started that, I kind of lost my shit on them. And it's like, are you guys happy? You wanted it. And we tried to tell you, but you got it.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys did good. I mean, they did amazing. They did exactly what they were supposed to do, but like, this is what happens. You know, this is combat. This is, you know, people get injured, people die, and now we have to live with it. And I know I lost my shit for a minute, but after that, I was like, all right, you know what? I love all of you guys. Now we have to finish the damn mission and get out of here.
I tell you, man, that was hard for me too, because we did the memorial ceremony, and then you know, we had some issues with, like, my wife had a miscarriage and stuff. So I had to, like, I got out of, I was like you, man, they rushed me out of country super fast.
Yeah.
And it was like a couple days after I think it was like the day after we did Hickman's memorial.
It was a day after Hickman's memorial, because I remember you coming busting into my room and waking me up and saying, hey, I have to go home. And, you know, we discussed what was going on and with Christine, and you were like, I got to go. And you were all upset, and which rightfully you should have been. And I could tell where your mind was torn. You're like, you needed to be at home, but you really wanted to be here. Yeah. And you know, I basically told you, hey, you got to go do what you got to do. We got this. And then the day you left, Jack Love brought all of us platoon sergeants in and said, somebody's going home as Advon, and somebody's going to be in charge of the company and driving everybody out. And I just remember Metter saying, I'll take the company and we'll get everybody out. And he goes, no, you're going to Advon. Crecelius, you're running the company and getting them out.
Yeah.
And you didn't miss it. You don't, trust me, you didn't miss it.
No, I know.
That was a really dreadful time driving out.
It was just shitty things, man, going through that night. Because that's a night I'll never forget. And you see me, I write stories about it on Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
Because, you know, Hickman's memory and all. But yeah, that was definitely a rough night, man. But
it was.
You know. So we'll continue on with this, Haven. So I want to get a little bit into I want to work a little bit into your transition piece too, right? Like I know you did O&D. What did you do kind of after that?
So after O&D, when we got back, I got moved right away. Jack pulled me up into his office and said, originally I was supposed to go over to ForceCom and be the Force Comm Sergeant Major's executive assistant. But I told him I couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
It would look like I was running. That was my mindset, is I needed to stay here for the boys. I can't make it look like one bad event and I'm running away.
Yeah.
Even though we all know, you come back, people go places, people get orders and they go. But I wasn't really getting orders. This is why I had the meeting with Sergeant Major that day. So I told him I didn't want to take it. And he said, okay. He said, then you're not staying with Bravo Company. Now I had a problem. And I'm like, well, where the hell am I going to go? And he goes, you're going to go to Delta Company. And I'm like, I've been a light paratrooper my entire career, and now you're going to stick me in gun trucks. And I'm like, I don't know anything about that. He goes, you're going to go to 4 Delta. That was Chris's platoon. That was Newton's platoon. They were the ones who came out as our QRF that night. And I was like, okay, well, I feel better. And I said, well, who's going to take 2 Bravo? And he goes, well, Newton is. He goes, I'm just flip-flopping you 2. He goes, I'm not sticking you in a crappy platoon. I'm not sticking anywhere where you got to change a bunch of stuff. You guys can just blend right in because you know how each other work. Yeah. And so that was great. So I did that for a little bit. Then I was told that I was going to be taking over Charlie Company as the first sergeant, guaranteeing me as my first look. I was going to guarantee me first sergeant that year. And that was coming from brigade. And then we had All-American 9 swap out. And well, you know who that was, Jerry. We don't have to talk about him. Yeah. But I was on his list to get rid of because he didn't like me because I voiced my opinion. And I got put on orders for First Army, originally for First Army up at Fort Dix. And then they changed it to First Army headquarters. So I went to Rock Island Arsenal for a couple of years, which was actually really funny. I had a nice desk job, and then we got a new CSM there who was an old brag baby. And we were actually on a mission. We were traveling around the U.S. talking to Guard and Reserve units, and we were flying once. And he looked at me and he said, where are you coming from? And I was like, well, I just spent like the last 8.5+ years in the 82nd. He goes, why are you here? Did you get blown up? Are you like rehabbing? I'm like, nope. He goes, you're not at the end of your career, are you? I said, nope. He goes, then why are you here? I was like, because I've done everything I can as an E7, and the division CSM didn't like me, so he got rid of me. This is where I end up. And he goes, well, that's not going to work. He goes, how long are you supposed to be here for? I was like, 3 years. And I was coming up on year 2. And he goes, yeah, that's not happening. He goes, when we get back, we're calling branch and we're getting you out of here. He goes, you're going back to brag. And he called Cantwell, which it was funny. I was in the office and he calls Sergeant Major Cantwell and he says, hey, I got a guy who came from brag and he needs to go back. And first thing out of Cantwell's mouth was, as long as it's not Crecelius, we can make it happen. And the Sergeant Major goes, well, why not Crecelius? And he goes, is he there with you? I was like,
fucking hey, Cantwell, dude.
I'm like, hey, Sergeant Major. He's like, God damn it, Haven, what's going on? And Sergeant Major was like, hey, look, this is a unit where people come to rehab or die. That's the end of their career. He goes, this guy's got a lot of life left in him. Let's get him back to brag. And Cantwell was like, okay. He goes, but I can't guarantee him the 82nd. So I got put back on orders and went back to brag. There was nothing for me in division. So they stuck me down at the NCOA. I took over as a senior SGL, started teaching WLC at the time, or BLC? Mm-hmm. One of the two. I was there for the transition. Then I got pulled up. We were out in the field, and I got told, hey, you got to go see the Corps Sergeant Major. And I was like, what the hell would I do? Why do I got to see Corps Sergeant Major for? And I had gotten volunteered to deploy with Corps headquarters for OIR as the Corps Sergeant Major's executive assistant, because he wanted combat experience in his team. And the 2 people he had at the time did not have that. So the fact that we were going back into Baghdad when we were trying to take Mosul back, and he was going to be traveling. He wanted experience with him. And lo and behold, that came from me being volunteered came from Force Com Sergeant Major. So I deployed for OIR 3, went over in 16, beginning of 16, and came back mid 17. So we were over there for a while. I got to see 101st came in and took over the CJ Flick, which the Div CSM at the time for 101st was Sergeant Major Nowak. So I got to see him. Colonel Mazaraki was in the headquarters as well. So it was like, I got to see my old, mentors from the 82nd again. So that was great. But the command team for General Townsend was all 2nd Brigade.
Townsend.
Colonel Beatty was there. Robinson was there. God, who else? Basically everybody that was in came from 2nd Brigade except for his heir, and he came from 3rd Brigade. He's the only one. Everybody else was 2nd Brigade. So it was great working with that crew. But I got picked up for 8 as soon as we got back. Then I got my orders for Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. I was a first sergeant for Charlie 248, which at the time was kind of crazy because it was a brand new battalion. They were standing up. They had active duty drills there, but they had no active duty command teams. They were all reservists. I was the first active duty in there, and we fell under 3rd Chem. So infantry in a chem unit did not match very well. I literally did my 18 months as a first sergeant and got told, hey, your time's done. We got to find you a new job. Yeah. And we got a new first sergeant who's chem coming in, and first engineer picked me up, and I went down and I had a meeting with the sergeant major and colonel down there. They wanted to see my NCOERs, all of them, and my ERB, gave it to them. And the colonel literally said, he goes, well, do you know the one thing that we all have in common? And I said, what's that, sir? And he goes, we are 3 of the 4 Jumpmasters, master-rated Jumpmasters on Fort Leonard Wood.
There you go.
And Sergeant Major looked at me. He said, my Ops Sergeant Major is taking command, and I need an Ops Sergeant Major. He goes, can you do it? And I said, point me to my office. I'll learn the rest. And I did that up till COVID kicked off, and I helped kind of do the transition with COVID down there. And then me and Jesse just decided, my kids my son was going into his senior year. My oldest daughters were going into their junior year, and I had already missed so much that we're like, if I continue, I'm going to miss all of that.
Yeah, definitely.
So we're like, COVID was a good time to go ahead and drop my paperwork. And so I did. And I almost pulled it. Like I said, Jerry, when we were talking before, I dropped my packet. Me and my wife decided we wanted to go to Wisconsin. We were going to retire in Wisconsin. Me being born and raised in Iowa, her coming from the suburbs of Chicago, we both knew Wisconsin. Like we'd spent a lot of time. So, and we liked the school systems up here, and we liked, the gun laws and just basically the atmosphere.
Big factor.
Yeah. So we took a weekend and we came up, and I went to a career fair in Milwaukee and didn't like what I see. So then we went to Madison and I went to a career fair, and I remember I walked into that one, and it was in a hotel. And there was like a tree removal booth, a dentistry tech booth, some different insurances, bank tellers. And then there was a CCW insurance company. And I went over and talked to these guys, and all 3 are vets. And I'm like, hey, man, I could jive with this. Asked them what they did. So then, and they told me, and I was like, they're like, we click very well. We're all veteran. I was like, so do you guys during your lunch break, go out and shoot and do stuff together like that. And they're like, oh no, the owners of the company are not gun friendly, so we're not allowed to have guns at work. And I was like, wow, it's kind of an oxymoron, isn't it?
Yeah,
like,
that's crazy.
I was like, it's kind of like being MI. I mean, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So I remember I took my resumes. I had my basically my civilian resume and my federal resume. I had them both done. And I took them back and I walked out and I looked at Jesse and we got to my Jeep and I'm taking my tie off and I said, that's it. I was like, I'm pulling my packet. I was like, I can't do the civilian world shit. I was like, there's nothing out here for me. And one of those guys come running out and he asked me, can I hold on to these? He goes, I get it. Our company's not for everybody, but he goes, I have a friend and he's a recruiter and it might be something you're looking at. He's like, just you're going to get a phone number or a call from a phone number from 608. He's like, just answer it. It'll be sometime soon. And then 30 minutes, 45 minutes go by and I get a phone call and I answer it. And it was the recruiter from the Dane County Sheriff's Office. And he told me, he's like, I'm looking at your resumes. You've been through a lot. He goes, you got a lot of life experience. He goes, I think you could do this job. He goes, do me a favor and just check out our website. And if you like it, let me know and we'll get you started. And I was like, okay. I was like, I can do that. And then he goes, are you married? He goes, do you have a spouse? And I said, I do. And she's sitting right here. He goes, can I talk to her? And I was like, sure. So I give her the phone and she talked to him. And then she gets off the phone and she goes, you need to check out that website. And I was like, well, what did he say to you? And she goes, he told me about their insurance and how much you're going to make.
Well,
And she goes, she literally, she goes, that's enough for me to tell you to go ahead and do this. Normally I would say, no, you're not getting into law enforcement. You're already leaving a job. But she goes, you're going to fit in with this and they're going to take care of us. So I applied and yeah, I got in right away. And it was an amazing transition. Our agencies, we're the third largest agency in the state of Wisconsin. It's almost 50% veteran heavy. So
how many
it
of
was
those
actually crazy.
How many guys are infantry? Because I know, man, like me and Chris, we'd have a retention brief, bro. Like, and every one of those dudes, like, I'm going to go law enforcement. Everybody wanted to be a cop, right? Every time I was like, hey, man, you know, some agencies require college or this or that. Like, it's not that easy.
So our state mandates that we have to have 60 college credits.
Yeah.
But we have 5 years to get it. That's a state mandate. A lot of agencies up in Wisconsin, they don't do that. They want to see it up front. Our agency doesn't do that. They're like, hey, you have 5 years to get 60 college credits. If you don't have it, go get it. But out of all of our vets, it's a majority are infantry or engineers. Yeah. A huge chunk of them. We have some MPs. We have some MI guys. We have, a little bit of this and that, but yeah, a majority are infantry or engineers. And actually the funny thing is when I was with Corps headquarters, I helped out division with a jump one day. Cause you know how it is, Jerry, they put that all call out. Hey, we need JMs down here to help down the green ramp. So, I went down and I helped, I was JMPIing, did a jump, but I didn't remember it at the time when I met this kid, but I remember talking to this kid. It was his first jump in division. He was scared to death. And I just walked through my JMPI, went kind of slow. So I got time and talked to him. I was like, hey, look, I was like, don't rush the door. I was like, eye to eye contact when you hand off that static line. I was like, everything will come into play. It's like, this is your 6th jump ever. I was like, jump school will come back. Trust me. I was like, you're going to remember everything you're supposed to do and you'll be fine. Fast forward, God, almost a decade. Here this kid is in the sheriff's office with me.
Nice.
And I'm sitting there and I'm training and I'm bullshitting with another guy who was an engineer in the Army. And this kid looks at me and goes, were you at Bragg? And I was like, yeah, twice. And he goes, were you a Jumpmaster? And I said, yeah, I'm a master-rated Jumpmaster. And he goes, would you by any chance remember? And he starts going through that whole day. And I was like, yeah, I do remember that. He goes, that was me. And he's like, I literally, those words stuck with me on every jump after that. He goes, you helped me with every jump. And yeah, now him and I, we work together, and yeah, it's great. We're always talking crap about every other airborne that comes in. They're not 82nd. So,
so is there any advice that you have, Haven, for any of these guys they want to do law enforcement, that they transition out, or like, is there any?
So anybody who's getting out, I mean, you got to find what you want, especially if you're getting into law enforcement. I held on to the words Chris Newton told me, because when I started the process, going into Dane County, he told me, it's like, good, you're getting into a sheriff's office. Getting into a local PD, even if it's a large PD, they don't always have everything. You're driving the same beat. Your promotion is, you might get to a sergeant, or you might go up a little bit, but they don't have a lot. Sheriff's office tend to especially larger ones. They have a lot. My wife's throwing stuff at me. They have all sorts of things. So like literally our agency, the only two things we don't have is we don't have horses, airplanes, or helicopters. Yeah. We have a SWAT team. We call it TRT, Tactical Response Team, which 90% of them are vets. We have HDU, which is our hazardous device. It's EOD. We have a dive team. We have a drone team. We have a crisis negotiator. We have every team, and we have every committee that you can think of. So there's so much to get involved in and so much to do that guys like us, you get to use your experiences. You get to use training. It transfers over. It truly does. All my instructor time in the military, and then all that medical that I pushed while in the military, I'm one of our primary instructors because we have our own academies. We run our own jail and law enforcement academy. I'm one of the primary instructors for the medical side of it, just because of all my experience and knowledge. I play Op 4 for our TRT all the time. And they like having me on the other side of things, because during the AARs at the end, I'm a guy who can say, hey, you guys were stacked up on that wall and you were hugging the wall, or you were coming up the stairs, hugging the stairwell. I could hear you. Where somebody who doesn't have that experience with CQB, they're not going to catch those things to help them get better. And the team loves having me out there for that, which I love doing it with them, because I feel like I'm a part of the team. But some days I think I'm too old to do any of that anymore, so I don't know about kicking doors. But
no, I was going to ask you. It's like, you on the team? Hey.
No, I tried out once, top 3. They took top 2, so I didn't make it. But I've continued. I've thought about putting in again. But I'm also on the waiting list for the negotiator team right now. Mm-hmm. I was number 2, and they had one spot open, and my buddy beat me by 3 points.
Yeah,
legitimately 3 points, and it was. Great guy. He got the job, but they told me I'm on the waiting list. So the next person who goes, I'll be sliding in. Which they're also all of our entire negotiator team. They're all SWAT trained because they're right there with the team doing stuff. So, but
TRT, man, that's a young man's game.
Oh, I know, right?
Yeah, I think Haven too. It's like, man, like law enforcement is it's an honorable profession, man.
It is.
Yeah. It's an honorable profession for our young guys to go into. Sometimes I think it's not the easy way. It's like, I just go law enforcement. Yeah. I want the young soldiers to think things through before they actually get out. Right? Hey, what's your plan? Right? Like, I mean, you could work. I'm not digging on you going that way, but just have a plan. But dude, I respect the law enforcement side, and today, man, like, I don't think it's dangerous. I think the danger of being a cop today is just, man.
It is. But I mean, going back to what Chris brought up earlier, we adapt every call we go on. I mean, it was last week. I went to a call, and it was elderly guy fell out of his bed, and now all of a sudden they're saying they don't think he's breathing. And we got there, and EMS was working on the guy, and the wife was like, he's got a DNR. I just don't know where it's at. And so we had to sit around and wait, and they finally located it. And so they had to stop working on him, and then we had to call it. And then I have to call and get a ME out there. And the whole time I'm sitting there with, a body and the family, and the daughter-in-law, she like looked at me and she's like, this has to be the toughest part of your job. And I was like, coming from where I come from, I'm like kind of jaded. I was like this, my heart was racing because I thought it was a medical call, and then it turned to this. But where the walks of life that I came from, like we're used to adapting to different scenarios, and it's an easy transition for me, I think. But you're right. You have to have a plan. You have to figure out what you want to do and go do it, because when I came to the agency, I didn't know what to expect. And I had an awesome sergeant who is now a captain in our agency, and she's a vet. She used to ride Blackhawks. She was a crew chief on a Blackhawk. And when I first started, she asked me, she goes, "What do you want to do in the agency?" I said, "Well, whatever the agency needs, I'm here to do it." She goes, "No. What do you want to do? What's your plan?" I was like, "Well, I don't know. I just want to be here, and I'll figure it out." She became a lieutenant. I worked with her. Then she became my captain. I was recruiting for the agency for a while, and she became my captain. And a spot that I'd been watching came open, and I went and talked to her, and I was like, "Hey, this is coming open. I love what I'm doing right now, but I've had my eye on this." And she's like, "Then you got to put in for it, and then we'll figure it out from there. If you get it, you get it. If not, then we just continue on." And I got the spot, and she was like, "We'll figure it out from here." And she goes, "Now you have a plan. You get to go do what you planned for." And I mean, it was her leadership and her mentorship that, it kind of pushed me the way that I'm going in my career now. So, but yeah, the biggest thing is, you're right, Jerry, you got to have a plan, but you got to stick to that plan and still be adaptable, because that plan might not be, you get out, and I see it a lot. Guys get out and they're like, "Yep, I'm going to do this." And they get to that point and they're like, "This is not what I thought it was going to be." Yeah. And that's where that adaptability comes in. You have to be able to go, "Okay, well, if this isn't it, what's next?" Yeah. Where's my pace plan?
Yeah. I think if you go into as a veteran and you think that first job is this going to be your lasting job, you got to be pretty naive, man. So people go through multiple jobs. I work in the contractor world, and contracts change here and there, and it might not be your first. It might not be with that agency or whatever. There, you move on to another one, right? Yeah. So that's what's good about the freedom of being a civilian. You can choose whatever you want to do, right? Like you have that. You have to show up at 6:30 for PT and be there no matter what, right? But Haven, like, how do you manage the mental health side of this? Yeah. Like, especially being a law enforcement officer, the shit that you guys see every day, and then like the shit that you saw in the Army. Like, how do you cope? I don't want to say cope. I don't know if that's the right word or not, but how do you deal with it? Like,
it's kind of twofold on my part. One, when I did get out, Chris Newton, him and I have been through so much shit together. He was my sniper team leader during the surge. So
he's like doing sniper shit now, ain't he? He's like SWAT or something.
Yeah, he's working with the SWAT team still. He's also in another transition period as well, because he's been bouncing agencies, kind of moving up the chain. But he's always been my kind of go-to guy. Him and I, we went through a lot of shit. And then, I mean, he knows my bad days, and I know his, so we call each other a lot. And we talk it out, even on the law enforcement side. The cool thing about my agency, though, is they are big on mental health. So your birth month, you get an extra day off, but you have to spend at least 15 to 45 minutes doing a Zoom call with a psychiatrist, just to make sure your mental health is good. And then I think we get up to like five 5 free visits for mental health. If we need to go see somebody, we get 5 free ones a year. So, I mean, my agency is amazing with mental health. Like, they want to make sure that everybody is on par. So, but yeah, the biggest thing is, like, I mean, I'm not afraid to talk. I'm an open book. I grew up watching my grandfather, who served 2 tours in Vietnam. I watched that stuff eat him up. And one thing I got from one of my uncles, who was the G2 Sergeant Major Crecelius, Gary told me, don't bottle anything up, always be able to talk about it. And I got to that point where if they ask a question and they want to know, I give them that little disclaimer. Hey, are you sure you want to know? Because you may not like the answer, or you may not like what you're going to hear, but I'm willing to tell you about it. So, if people ask me, I'm going to talk about it. And my kids have asked, over the years, if, they see something I'm watching on TV, were you there for that? And they'll ask me about it. So it's just getting it out there, being able to talk about it. We stood up, my agency's amazing. We stood up 3 years ago, a veteran shoot, the week of Veterans Day. And vets can come out, they can sign up, they can come out and they can shoot for free on our ranges and just shoot. Or we have competitions. And that's just, it's all run by us, and it's all vets that are running it. But the cool thing is during all of that, we literally bring in, the Legion. We bring in all these different vet agencies, and we have free lunch. And it's just, we have rooms for vets to come in and just hang out and talk and just be able to share stories with like-minded, individuals. And it's just a great day to hang out. And we've been doing it for 3 years straight. And every year it's getting bigger and bigger. And this will be our 4th year. We started planning early because we already had people asking about it, in January. Shit, well, we need to start getting things together. People are already asking about it because they enjoy it so much. So, but yeah, it's just not bottling it up. You gotta be able to talk.
I think too, man. Like, if you look at your wife, man, she's been through, like, law enforcement wives too. Like, it's like she's been through all this shit in the Army, and then now she's gonna kiss you goodbye to go on shift. Right. And I'm not trying to be dark humor here, dark, whatever you want to call it. I'm not trying to be, but it's just reality, right? Yep. Like, going out to the I don't know how many good engagements versus bad engagements you have with the populace out there, but I'm sure you see the ugly side of the human existence
you always
every
do.
night, right?
Yeah.
But like giving you a kiss goodbye, and you drive off in your sheriff's car, and it's just like, you don't know what's going to happen, right? So for her to be strong and, like, deal with the Army shit, and then now going into the law enforcement side to, like, support you, right? It's a strong woman, bro.
Oh, yeah. Like, it doesn't help any, my oldest son is in the 82nd now. He's in 1st Brigade. So, Jesse's amazing. She's strong, and she knows when it's my time off, it's my time off, and it's the family stuff, and we're doing stuff, with the kids, who are still at home. Her and I do a lot more stuff together. We have certain shows that we're watching together. We started a garden, like we're, planting flowers, or we have squash growing, peppers growing, 3 apple trees growing. Like, we're planting stuff, doing stuff together. So yeah, it's more now that all the time off, it's us. But she's amazing. She's definitely stronger, probably stronger, more strong-willed than I am. And probably especially with the mental health game as well. She's amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, bro. I think, is there anything else you kind of want to hit on?
I mean, you know me, brother. We could go for days.
I know. I know, man. Dude. So how much longer do you have in law enforcement to retire? Does this count?
So yeah, I could buy in my military time. They actually told me like when I first started, okay, if you want to buy in, like you could do 5 years and be done. And I'm sitting here and I was like, God, I retired at 40. I'm like, what am I going to do? I heard horror stories of guys getting out and deciding, yep, I'm going to live off retirement. And then their body completely relaxes. And then like all of a sudden it's a heart attack or an embolism or something, like something takes them. And I'm like, yep, that's not going to be me. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep, I can't serve, in the military anymore, but I'll still serve, our country in different ways. Yeah. I'm serving the community. So I'm going to keep going. Right now, my plan is like, basically we can do 20 years or the age of 53 and retire full benefits. So basically my plan is right now, Jesse and I talked it out. We're looking, I got another 10 to 15 years. The gig I'm in right now is pretty low key. I'm a contract deputy. So I'm the law enforcement for a small village. My backup is any smaller agency is close or one of our deputies coming from another area. But I'm the school resource officer. I'm, basically I'm the end all be all for law enforcement for that village. It's just me. But it's it's not a hard job. You know what I mean? It's like, there's not all sorts of crime.
Yeah.
And it's more community.
What kind of village is it?
It's just a little farm village.
Oh,
it's
really?
like 1,200 plus bodies. Like it's just a little village.
Nice.
Yeah, but it's more community engagement. That's all it is. So when I had my eye on this spot, it's not but like 15, 20 minutes from my house. So it's an easy, drive to work. And, but it's not kicking indoors. I'm not taking down drug dealers. There's not shootings. It's, it's dealing with something at the school or speeders or, somebody not stopping at a stop sign or maybe, some vandalism here and there. But Jesse and I figured, I could do this for 10 to 15 more years. I could get full retirement. I'm 6 years in. Then I've got 2 full retirements. Then it's her and I, because all the kids will be out of school. I mean, my youngest is a freshman in high school now. The rest, are college or doing their own thing. And like at that point, two retirements. I mean, it's just us. I mean, we can travel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what do you cruise around, like a Dodge Charger?
No, I have my squad car is a little Ford Interceptor.
Oh,
it's fast. It's a little SUV. But I mean, it's not like I have to go fast. I mean, my village isn't that big, so
yeah.
But yeah, it's
bro.
It's a nice little car.
I'm proud of you, dude. I'm proud of what you're doing, man. I'm proud of what you're doing. I'm proud of, I'll kind of close this out, dude. We're kind of running a little long on this one, but I'm proud of what you're doing, brother. I'm proud to serve with you. I think, as a first sergeant, you helped me, get through some of my times and help me, I think I can argue the fact I think we had like the best company in the White Falcons.
Oh, hands down.
The whole time. So for us to get there, you guys, it wasn't because of me that I went to HSC right after. And, you don't impress Jack Love with things that, he saw something in me, but it wasn't because of me. It was because of the people that, I worked with or worked for in BCO, man. So I love all those boys out there. I see them doing great things across the country. Some are in law enforcement,
Yep.
So they're out there killing it, doing great stuff, man. So, I'm proud of you, man. And I'm super humbled to be your friend. Right. So thank you for spending 3 hours to sit down with me and Chris. We both got day jobs. So we got to, get up in the morning and everything. Yeah, I mean, we would love, dude, to have you on, man. And if I could get some more Leos on here, bro, and then have a conversation, because, coming from the infantry world, that's probably the number one, job that these guys get out to. And I think sharing some information about that process and hiring stuff like that would be a great little live. We can get on live and do something like that. That'd be sweet instead of doing like a recording. But again, brother, I appreciate it. I'm proud of you, and thank you for spending time with us and coming on our small little podcast, bro.
No,
so,
thank you for having me. Like I said,
I'll give you last comments.
When you pushed this out, when you guys started this, I started watching it, and I was like, I don't know, something. I remember telling Jesse, I was like, this is Jerry. This is right up Jerry's alley. This is your go-to. Like, I mean, I don't know how many times I don't know how many times we would sit around, whether it was the company CP or downrange, and just talk.
Yeah.
Like, this is, tell us about, whatever. Like, this was your calling. So I was proud when I saw that, and then hell, even when my boy was going through training and we talked, and I knew that initially he was supposed to come up your way, and you're like, I'm going to keep my eye open for him. I told Jesse, I was like, I'm excited. I'm like, I know he's in good hands.
Family, bro. Family.
Oh, yeah.
I consider you family, dog.
Yeah. So I appreciate it.
I know we're older and we have day jobs too. Like, we don't keep in touch as much as we can. And, that's why me and Chris do this. Cause if it wasn't for this, I don't know if I would have been able to get you on the hook and talk to you. Right. So, and again, it's, when you get into those transition periods and you're getting ready to move on to the taking off that uniform, it's all about, the friendships don't stop there.
Yeah, no,
I think your friendships have to get stronger as you transition, right? And that's why I'm doing. Me and Chris are doing this podcast, man. Chris got to do the transition. He's about to do it though. So if you got any recommendations for Chris, shoot him over there because he's about to hang it up too.
Have a plan before you get out, Chris. Have a plan and make sure you get all those things into the VA. Document everything.
I thought I was going to get rich doing this, but apparently that's not a thing.
Well, we had an emotional day the other day when he actually got his orders in hand, so I kind of hit him. I did. So, but hey man, I'll close my comment, turn it over to Chris. But hey man, thanks, appreciate it so much for coming on.
No, thank you, Jerry. I appreciate it, brother.
Hey, Haven, I'll be brief. Look, man, it was a hell of a story. The mental, physical, spiritual resilience that you have shown throughout your life it's something that is not common, right? And you should be extremely proud of yourself. You've got one hell of a wife there that supports you through all of that. And I'm proud to have heard your story. Thank you so much for sharing it with me and with the rest of us. I thank you so much. And real quick, everybody out there, like and subscribe, okay? Last words, over to you, Haven.
No, again, guys, I appreciate you, bringing me on. Jerry, we haven't talked in forever, but I've been following you guys, and this is amazing. And I just appreciate you, having me come on and tell a story. I mean, it gets emotional and it is hard to talk about, but I mean, that's why we have to do it. I mean, you got to get it out there. Otherwise, you're going to be another, statistic, and we can't have that anymore. You got to be able to talk. We're here for each other.
Yep. Agreed. I think the stigma of holding it in is you can't do that no more, man.
Nope,
you got to talk about it. So, All right, boys, and girls that are out there, thank you all for joining us. Like Chris says, can you please subscribe, share, like. We're on all socials out there. I think so. I think we're on all of them, right, Chris? Like X.
We're on everything. We're on X. We're on Insta. We're on Facebook. Jerry does TikTok. He's a TikToker out there.
Advertisement.
We're on. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us on YouTube, and you can find us on Apple iTunes.
All right, guys, and there's some huge news coming our way here soon. So we'll put that out in the next couple days, and we've got some like Haven's going on the page. We've had some amazing guests over the last 9 episodes, just not just because of their combat experience.
Yeah.
It's because they're good human beings. So that's exactly who we have on this podcast. So hey, we'll talk to you guys later. Everybody have a great night, and OTN.